a second. Bam. What up, Yang Gang? We got a special guest tonight. So we got Logan here, and I believe you're a New Yorker, right?
Not these days, man, but was in New York for a few years. Love the city. Diehard Yankees fan. Grew up 40 minutes outside the city. My parents were both there for a long time, so
yeah,
that was near dear to my heart. But
and the big thing is what got us to this point is you shared this simulation that you ran, that showed Andrew Yang having 60% chance odds of winning, and I said, "Holy shit, I got to talk to you." And so that's where we're at. And I would love to learn more about what inspired you to do the simulation in the first place, then what that process looks like. Like, what's your background? How the hell did you do that? Type of thing. And then we'll talk about your website as well.
Sure. Yeah. No. Well, hey, first of all, thanks for bringing me on. Great to be here. And for me, this actually isn't my first rodeo. I made a lot of forecasts in the last cycle for the presidential and Senate elections, which, went pretty well. I ended up, not to brag, but just to build up my legitimacy a little bit. I was one of the best in the country. I got a little closer on average than Nate Silver did in the final result in every election.
Nice.
Yeah. So, this one's a little bit different though, right? Because back then, there's a lot of presidential elections. There's a ton of Senate elections. So I went for every election from 1974. It had tons of data. You could really fine tune how much at a certain point when you have a certain amount of polling, when you're a certain point in the race, right? Here, this is a forecast where I'm very much shooting by the hip. So this is here's what I think will happen. First election ever of ranked choice. Not nearly as much data because they don't pull this as much as they do Senate, the presidential.
Right.
Even in the past. And, I tried to use the same formula, but, I could be wrong about this, right? Mm-hmm. But it's my best stab. And so the way it works, right, is I take a polling average, which I made, which is pretty standard to if you've ever seen Wade polling averages on 538 or elsewhere, where they take polls from good pollsters that have great track records, Emerson came in earlier, great pollster, right. Give them a little more weight. Polls with a lot of people, give a little more weight. If it's recent, more weight, right? Then you get your average. And you take that, that's what you think is the most likely result. And then you have to run a simulation based off that, right? So I do this through Excel, actually. And I use something called normal distribution. I won't get too in the weeds so I don't lose people. But you're trying to say, what is the range of possibilities here? And so part of it is because I'm doing this 50,000 times every simulation, you have some randomness introduced, and you also decide how much do I not know, right? How much uncertainty is there in each run?
Yeah, room for error type of thing.
Exactly, room for error. That's a good way to say it, right? So, because we're 60 days out, everyone's going to get a lot of error. And if it's someone like Andrew Yang who's at 15%, or 25%, maybe he ends up with 35, maybe he ends up with 15. A lot for him. If it's someone who's like Art Chang at 1%, he's probably not going to end up with 25, right? It could happen. You never know. So you have less. So you start with that. You run the simulation for every single candidate. And so let's say Yang gets 27 in this one, right? Eric Adams gets 14, whatever. And you have all that. Okay. That's normally all you do, and then you're good to go.
Right.
The hard part about this is with ranked choice, right? You had to get someone to 100. And that's a big part of the reason why I did this, because at first when I looked at this, it was there's no way I'm going to make this work. It's going to take me forever because it's 10 times as hard, or it takes 10 times as much to have it go for all the calculations. But I decided to go with the challenge. And so we have to predict what are people going to choose as their second choice, right?
Second and thirds, man. That's the big one.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the optimal way to do this, and there's the non-optimal way. And I just had to switch to temporarily the way that's not ideal, but it works for now. And that's you right now, the polls are asking people who's your second choice, and it's not specific to candidate. I'm using that for now. What I want to do, and what I did earlier, but it's just there hasn't been polls that have done this recently, is use polls where they say specifically to supporters of each candidate, like Yang supporters, who's your second choice, Stringer supporters, who's your second choice.
Right. But he leads in second choices as well.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent poll I just saw where he actually increased his lead. And yeah, I'm just find it fascinating because think about this. With ranked choice voting gaining popularity, you could be the guy they call on for ranked choice voting simulations if you get this thing down.
Yeah, that would be fun, man. And, I'm a huge fan.
We'll see you on all the major networks.
I appreciate it. We'll see. But, part of why I like it, right? Like, there's a part when you have an election that's as sliced as this, where you have so many people running, where you could say your pathway to victory is just to win this small percentage they like to, right? Like these demographic groups, and not speak to the rest because it's not as important. But what's cool about ranked choice is it like forces you to talk to everyone.
Yep. Well, and also I think it de-incentivizes negative mudslinging type of ads, which isn't really going all that well for a couple of candidates I won't mention. So I'm not giving you kind of free press. But they're slinging mud, man, and that's going to make them go down. They're not going to be in Andrew Yang's people's top 5. They're going to be, nah, bro, you're slinging mud.
I also, it might lower negative campaigning, but you're also starting from a baseline in New York City, right? So like less here is still going to be a lot of mud being thrown.
It is from less than what starting point is. But we're less than 2 months out, man, and I cannot wait. I'm going to New York. I took a week off of work. My boss is cool about it. So me and my girlfriend are coming. My girlfriend's never been to an event yet, and I've been to all of them. I'd say about 75% of the things I've been to in the last 2 years. So when I get there, it's going to be crazy, because there's going to be a couple thousand people going to be at those events,
Yeah,
if COVID doesn't get restrictive again, which is a very real variable in this whole algorithm in my head,
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. The restrictions are probably going to trail the vaccines a little bit in terms of remove. So I don't know if New York, but it would be, maybe there's a way you can make it work. If you go into a big park and you can still distance.
Well, we're going to organize an outdoor event. It cannot be indoors. It's just not going to happen.
And by the time we get to the general election, I mean, we're pretty close to getting 80%. We'll have 80% back.
Well, I'm more worried about the primaries. That's where the real win. The general's a victory lap in New York.
They must really have one hell of a scandal. Yeah, you're right.
It's just not likely. But yeah, so like, what inspired you to focus on this specific race? Or is it just you're just trying to do anything you can get your hands on?
I wasn't originally going to do it, but there were two things. First, I had a lot of friends in New York, right? I was in school there pretty recently for 2 years. So that pushed me to do it. And then I saw like no one was doing even a polling average, which is really weird. And so, you can do the real clear politics approach where you just smash them all together, but that's not a good way to do it, right? Because, no offense, Yang Gang, but if you have a pull out from Andrew Yang's pollster, right? Like you got to balance that out because they're going to shoot. For anyone, if it's your own poll, they're always going to make you, they're only going to release them when you look good. So you have to got to adjust for bias, and some polls are better than others. So I was like, okay, there's a need here. I want to see what's happening in the race. I might as well make it for everyone. And I did that, and I did some power rankings and like that. The forecast is really new, and I haven't put it on my site yet because given that I'm more shooting from the hip, I want to do a little more testing, which is why I've only posted it on Twitter. It'll be up there soon.
By the way, guys, his website is called racetothewhitehouse.com, wh.com, where I actually I'm very looking forward to diving into this sucker and see what you've done on there over the past I guess you say 2 election cycles, right? The midterms and the general.
Started out in the general. Last year's my first cycle. So when I said Senate, sorry, I was confusing. I meant Senate this cycle, and then did that in the Georgia runoffs. And listen, man, my whole point here is 2 things, right? First is to bring people behind the political curtain and like get you an idea of what's really going on, like break it down the way it's accessible. I've done a little less articles lately. I'll get more into it soon again, but a lot of writing is about campaign strategy. Yeah, because, it's easy to get lost in the noise of the big day-to-day story, but that often is missing the bigger points. That's, what campaigns are actually trying to do.
Well, I could feature your next article on my website as well to help you
I appreciate that. I love it. Thanks, man.
We can cross-pollinate and just spread the news, man.
That'd be great.
So what's your background when you went to college? You said you went to New York. What'd you go? What's your background?
Yeah, so that was for my grad degree. I was at Columbia for 2 years. I was working in American politics. I was on Clinton's campaign back in 2016. Worked in the Obama administration, interns. I don't exaggerate. I was interning in his White House before that. And then worked in some lobbying for 2 years. And then I went to Columbia to study international affairs and some domestic politics there too. And now since then I've been running Race to the White House.
Yeah, you've got a background in it, at least. You're not like me. I'm just a healthcare worker that just loves to talk this stuff, because Trump ignited a fire in me, man. I didn't see that coming.
Well, man, that's honestly what America's all about. That you don't need a background to get engaged, right? Like, democracy is better off with more hands on deck. So I think,
Absolutely.
There's a lot more people working in politics that have my type of background than yours. And I think it's good to have someone that has a healthcare background. I think that's incredibly valuable and makes you unique. So
that's what I like about the Yang Gang. We're very, very diverse in demographically, social, economically, and political background, like from diverse support. Conservatives, liberals, whatever the hell all the labels you got out there. There's a Yang Gang that had that label coming into it, especially people that aren't in it. They're apolitical. Now they're like, wait a minute, this guy's actually going to do something for us, the people. Then he ignited people that were just apolitical, which I was a Bernie supporter, but more so uninformed. I was just like, Bernie wants to do that? That sounds like a nice idea. Yeah, sure. Free college fee. Yeah, sure. And I didn't put that much. I didn't look farther than the tip of my nose, I was very easily manipulated by the mainstream media, to be honest with you. So then I just wasn't informed. But I'm just, now that I've gotten this bug, I can't shake it, man. This is my passion. And I love to cover this stuff, especially things that other people are sleeping on.
Yeah, well, I think it's great, and I think the more people get engaged, there's certain people like Barack Obama, Bernie, Yang has done that have brought people into democracy. Because you think about it, right? Like our turnout rate, we're not even like the top 40 in the world, and we're the original democracy in terms of recent developments, right? Like I'm not in history, obviously, but America helped bring a rise to new democracies around the world. From France to now, to Latin America to everywhere else, right? Like. And this is the core part of our identity. We were one of the only countries in history founded in an idea, and that is democracy and self-representation. And yet people don't participate. And I think we do as a country a really bad job in school of letting people know how the system works.
I think the highest turnout's like 60%.
Last year was the highest in 100 years. And that was when women couldn't vote. And in many parts of the country, Black people couldn't vote. So it's like
60%, I think. Total, like it's like
something like that. I don't remember.
I think it's just under 60. I think it's like 40% historically never ever have voted. Like 40% have never voted.
Yeah. And can you imagine how much better it would be if everyone was engaged?
I'm oh boy, yeah. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm gonna try and cover it, as best I can. I hope more others do. But yeah, Sue, I don't want you to get confused. He's not running for office. He's actually developed.
I like your question, though. Thank you.
yes. But you're definitely behind the scenes, But yeah, I just reached out to Logan because he had that thing about the simulation, and I think you sent me a graphic. Let's talk about your graphic you sent me. That shows kind of what your results were. Doom. There it is. Come on, computer. Yeah, it's lagging when I'm live streaming. Darn it. Come on.
So as you're saying, let's talk about what I've done with New York City Race. If you want to see some of my coverage, it's racetothewh.com. It's Race to the White House, but it's just wh.com/New York City Mayor, NYC Mayor. And, I'll put it in the comment. Oh, wait, no, it's a private chat. Sorry. First time here, so figuring it out. And if you go there, right, like what I'm covering is polling. I'm pretty sure I'm the only polling average out there right now. And it'll show you like who's in first, average of the polls. I weigh them based off of like high quality polls, get more credit here. Who's getting the most second choice support, how things have changed over time, but also a bunch of other stuff too. Like I'm showing you the fundraising numbers. And then one thing that like was a huge indicator in the 2020 primaries for Democrats, how much are New York City voters searching things, right? This isn't a hard science. Sometimes
Google searches and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, you got to be thoughtful about it, right? Like Ray McGuire is getting searched the second most next to Andrew Yang. Now, part of that is because he's running lots of ads and people are like, who is Ray McGuire? So it doesn't mean he's about to pop second, but it does show you people are thinking about him more. So like usually
name recognition, period.
Exactly, right?
Good or bad, it's name recognition.
Polls are like a snapshot in time of what people were thinking last week. So if you want to know what's happening this week, sometimes you'll get an early preview that way too. So I update that every few days. It'll show you what's happened in the last 30 days in Google searches.
So here's your graphic. Oh, let me take down that banner so we can read the whole thing. There we go. So you got 1 through 8 on here because nobody else registered above 0.1%, it looks like. Oh, the percentages. That's right. Okay.
No, you got it right. This is win percentage. Yeah. So
Yeah.
first round would be different. First round would be roughly the polling average, a little higher.
Right.
There's some undecided voters that obviously you don't vote undecided on election day.
Yeah. So this looks cool. I'm good with this.
Yeah.
And that whole Eric Adams thing, man. The thing is, I'm more concerned about is if these three supporters dislike him so much that they would all pick each other as twos, which I just don't see happening, because I think Adam, Stringer, and Wiley, and especially the ones down here, the lowest ones, will move up first, of course. It doesn't really matter what their twos and threes are right here. It doesn't matter what these bottom ones are, these bottom 4 or 5, because they're going to be the first ones to drop out. Then their twos will become his ones, or whoever's, right?
Well, it depends on the cycle, right? Like you're probably right. But the thing is, this is why I do 50,000 simulations of it. Sometimes Morales wins, man. It's 0.1. There might not be much, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes she gets second or third. And so it's like simulating all these different versions. And I hate to do this to you because I just sent you this, I think, last night, but I now have updated numbers with the new poll from Ipsos. So no graphic. You're just going to have to take it from me for now. Or I think it's on my Twitter feed too. But and eventually this will be on my site, all the forecast. 63% Yang wins. He's up a little bit. The reason he's up is because, the guy, if you have someone that's close second, right, that's going to bring Yang's percentage down. If Eric Adams starts getting like 22% of the polls, or Scott Stringer, right, then he'll get more competitive if Yang hasn't moved. But now he's further behind. Eric Adams' chances fell to 20%. He's lost 4% of the polls. He went down from 18 to 14 over the last few weeks. Third is Stringer at 12%. Fourth is Maya Wiley at 3%. Sean Donovan's at 1%. McGuire's at 0.5%, and then Morales and Garcia are at about 0.1.
Well, guys, I want to also bring up this, guys. You got to go follow him on Twitter, guys, at Logan_little m capital P Phillips. And I'll show you guys his actual. Let me remove that. And I'll show you guys what his Twitter thread looks like. It's pretty interesting stuff, man. It shows all of his little algorithms and whatnots. Is this right? Oh, wrong button. That one. But yeah, as you can see here, all of his goodies or whatnot. And there's his website link in there as well. 2 of them. Perfect. And then, some recent ones. This is
so forgive the shameless promote, but I'm running a forecast for 2022 in the Senate race and for the governor's race too.
Good deal, man. We got a couple people we want to look into. Is Reverend Wendy Hamilton, I'm sorry, and Erica Rose. They were just on Yang Speaks yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Or today? Yeah, today. But yeah, as you guys can see here, he has some more, stuff he's worked out in his little. Is this the one that's on your website?
That's the New York City Mayor Interactive, yeah.
Okay, let's check this bad boy out. We'll get a look at your website while we're here. Let's do this.
Sounds good.
So, race to the White House, and there's a dog. Oh, okay.
It's just an ad.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Am I missing it here? Oh, there we go. There it is. All others, and then second choices. Oh, okay. I see how you did it there. Good deal. And then, here's the trend line. There you go. Yeah, he really had a spike, man. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So when did it really start picking up? As in February. Okay.
Yeah, when his campaign got going. And I think that's interesting here, right? Like you said, there's a fear people have that people will really turn against Yang. That could happen by election day, but every indication we have so far is that's not happening, right? Like, he has very high approval rating of New Yorkers. So, the more New York City political activists, they tend not to like him as much. But the general voters tend to be pretty on board. And I also have power rankings for every candidate.
So, okay, then there's Eric Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Then it shows, let me move this out of the way. I can't see my thing. Oops, shoot. So you have Eric Adams is second. Stringer is third.
He's been surging on this thing too.
Yeah?
I think he just broke in the second tier.
Maya Wiley Ray McGuire. He's generated some pretty good funds though. 7 million.
Yeah, you got it. And now if you're really like in the weeds on the fundraising, recognize like I'm a little behind on this stuff with the fundraising. It's not, I only do what the FEC reports are, right? Because you have articles where candidates will say, I've raised X million. I wish I could include that, but if I'm not including everyone's, it's not fair to do the power rankings updates. So I have to wait till the new one comes out in the next, I think it's early May. I also do favorable ratings. And
yeah, dude, this is sweet. Do you know who Tom is from Nerds? Nerds for Yang.
I don't know.
Okay, dude, I gotta set that up for you, man. He's the data guy.
Cool.
He will have a field day with your website. I'm gonna have to let Tom know, man, because he does deep data dives. Like he used to work for YouTube, so that's a Google platform. So he knows how the Google searches work and all the analytics.
Awesome.
So he would do like debate nights when the debates were happening. Within 24 hours, who's leading in Google searches for 24 hours, and what regions of the country are they in the primary states? And he just really zoom out and be like, okay, this is where we're at, you know. And yeah, so you definitely got to talk. I got to get you on Nerds, man, because he's the data guy. Boy, he'll dive into that stuff. But I like the fact that you're bringing all that data, and it's fluid, and it's updating.
The fluid part is huge, right? It always updates anytime I'm updating my forecast or the polls, or I can put it in, and the goal is to make it as easy as possible. So I don't spend an hour doing it, right? Like 5 minutes, get it all to update. But I try to make it so like you don't have to be a data whiz to get this stuff. If you just want to get what's going on in the race for any of these, my goal is like make it easy to understand. Because most people, like even really smart people, they tend to not be great with numbers. But if you frame it right, they can understand it. And it helps you see the world when you do.
When the historic graph also helps, the line just makes it just bam, there's a spike, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I work like crazy to make it as easy to read as possible. I have all my mini focus groups with my friends who I annoy and ask them to say, does this look good?
Well, I think also that there's going to be some debates coming up in the next couple of weeks in April and May. So that's going to be a big difference. You're going to see some real movement in the polls too. So I will definitely be keeping an eye on your website. I love it, man. And I just think it's just cool that somebody's out there doing it just because, you know. But here's the thing: you need to get on the Hill. You need to get on the Young Turks, CNN. Let people know, hey, if you want to get a better prediction than Nate Silver, come on over, you know.
Yeah, well, you got
to do a humble brag, bro. You got to do it.
Yeah. Well, last time, I was kind of asking people just to believe in me because my stuff maybe looked good. But now I have some receipts, so hopefully I can build up some more credibility.
That's right. Got some paperwork to back it up. When is the first debate for New York City Mayor? They've had some online forums, but no true debates. Let me look that up. I actually have that. Oh, shoot. Where'd that graphic go? I had it saved on my phone. Let me look real quick. I'll let you guys know. I have it saved. Sorry, guys. I wasn't ready for that question. It's not there. It's not there.
It'll be interesting to see how the debates go. Yang has a big edge there because he had to swim with the big fish. Is that primary? Those debaters, it was one of the most talented primaries we've ever seen, I think. When you're up there against Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Biden, Bernie, Yeah, but yeah, and I think that was a big part of his success. First debate didn't go well, but second debate, like there was a point where I think most people kind of put him in like the political insiders in the same box as Marianne Williamson. It's like, okay, he's here for 2 debates, then he's gone, but he kept nailing it, and he kept doing a great job of messaging and sounding distinct from the field, making his message easy to understand.
Yeah.
And so, you hear this a lot of Joe Biden, and you're hearing of Yang, it's all about name recognition. Well, to me, in both cases, it's selling its sort. It's not just like, oh, I recognize that guy, but I hate him. Like he wouldn't be doing that well. It's because he earned people's trust and won them over. And he has that built-in reputation, yes, but it's more than just the name rec.
Right. He's earned a little bit of media time too by being a new to the scene, and everybody's punching up at him. So I told people, hey, he's in Joe Biden's seat, and they're all going to punch up. They're going to attack every debate. Especially Maya Wiley and what's his name?
Eric Adams,
the cop. Yeah, they punch up hard, man. So I get it. It's part of the race.
Yeah, no, it drives you crazy when it's your candidate, guys, but you got to get ready for it because
it's just part of it.
There's two ways to win for them, right? One is to rise next to Yang and be liked by more people as your second choice. Right. The other one is to bring Yang down, and they're going to try to do both. They're not going to just vacate the spot. So the punches are going to fly. Ranked choice disincentivizes it a little bit, but it doesn't that much because that's only going to, unless you have hardcore loyalists, people that kind of like them, they're not going to care that much because they're just going to say, oh, it's politics.
Yeah. Well, so here this is on the Gotha, what the hell ever that is. The Gazette. It says So right here in this thing, it says May 13th will be on Spectrum News NY1, then June 2nd, and then June 16th, the week before. So I'm gonna save those in my phone right now, just so I don't mess it up. Hey man, thanks, brother. Thanks for the donation, man. That's awesome. Here's one of my kids I used to coach in wrestling, my boy Moosey.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I love that kid. He's one of the guys that came to me in middle school and high school and went from an average athlete to a top tier athlete. And by the time he was a senior in high school, I was working third shift at Bosch, going to college in the daytime and coming there to wrestling practice and getting my ass kicked. Me and Moosey would go at it. And we'd both, I had a knot in my ear and just bloody nose or whatever, and a fat lip, but me and him would go at it, man. It's awesome. He's a good kid. But yeah, guys, we got to save this on our calendar. That way I'll know next time people ask me. It was May. Oh, let me go back to that. Sorry, guys. It was, where'd it go? I went too far. May 13th. Here, I'll just write it down so I'll make sure this time. 6/13 or 5/13. Then 6/2 and 6/16. Good deal. I'll save that later.
All right, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who do you think is Yang's biggest threat?
Adams.
Adams?
Yeah. Yep. Because he had the most inertia coming in, fundraising. I think he's saving some money. And I think he's also doing a good job on ads. I've talked to some friends in New York who say they see ads already of him. They see one for Andrew. They see three for him. And so, again, name recognition, Google search data. I've seen nerds talk about the Google search. He's number 2. Good or bad, So I think third is Maya Wiley. I put her over Stringer because of her community activism. She has a different lane to succeed, is through activism, through coalition building, and stuff like that. Now Stringer has been that. What do they call these? They have these titles. I don't know what the hell they mean. Like, he's the money guy. He's a banker, dude.
Yeah, he's a comptroller.
Comptroller. Yeah, these fucking weird names. Say banker. The treasurers.
For the New York City residents, they're more used to it, right?
Right. It's a foreign language to us that aren't from there, right?
I don't remember when I learned what comptroller was the first time, but I had the same reaction when I saw it too. So
just call it the treasurer.
It is weird.
Well, the thing about New York is you have this huge hierarchy, this gauntlet of things they expect you to do to earn your way up. You got to keep earning your way up. And Yang just comes and says, hey, bitches, I'm running and I'm leading before I'm even in it. Again, just like Joe Biden. Joe Biden led the polls before he even entered the race 2.5 years ago.
And when in doubt, the person leading the polls is the favorite, right? It doesn't always work out that way. No one ever remembers this one. It's kind of funny with all the crazy stuff that's happened since, but Rudy Giuliani led the Republican on the national vote, the Republican primary, for basically the entirety of the 2008 primary until about 1 week before Iowa voting started. And then he just crashed and he never won a single state and got one delegate. So sometimes it doesn't work out for you when you're in first, but it's the best place to be without question.
Well, the Republicans seem to be a little more like the famous saying is Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line.
Mm-hmm.
That quick. All it takes is that last second article from Fox News. Then all of a sudden, well, maybe Julie. No, we're going to go with Romney. And you're done. It's just that quick. And boy, talk about a fall from grace. Oh, Giuliani.
I don't know how, honestly, like I was pretty young back then, right? I'm 27. So back then when I cannot understand how Giuliani was elected to mayor of New York. I know politics in New York has changed a lot. It's gotten a lot more progressive, but
it's all about that money, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money and connections. And he's a lawyer. So they all know lawyers, and lawyers know politicians, and they all know judges. And
he did the tough and crime stick. Crime was a real problem back then.
Well, you had him, and you had what's your name? The Republican that ran for Democrat.
Bloomberg.
Same
Bloomberg
thing.
had a much better record than Giuliani, though. Like, not everything was perfect, right? Like you have the frisk thing, stop and frisk,
man.
But he also city coming after 9/11, huge economic growth, really built up the infrastructure of government. Made it so everyone is within access of a good park, which is a really nice thing to have in a city like New York.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it, honestly. I don't know I know nothing about his. I know stop and frisk because that's what the news tells you.
He wasn't my presidential choice, right? But like as a mayor, I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, but that stop and frisk thing, I think, is going to hurt Adams.
Probably
with the progressive. So I think like the Diana Moraleses, the number 2s won't be him because of he's doubled down on it recently. He goes, I think we should never get rid of it. It's a great policy. We should use it more. I'm like, what?
That's both politically and strategically, like politically surprising and policy surprising.
And it's not humane.
That's what I mean by the policy side, right? Like I agree with you, but it's also like, why would you say that when you're trying to win? Yeah, because it doesn't play into the right thing. That's why I wonder if Scott Stringer might be a bigger threat if it comes down to second choice, if he ends up being right behind Yang. Because this is a guy who won citywide government before, elected government, right? He's well liked.
Name recognition too.
He hasn't popped. Like people want something a little more exciting and interesting.
I think his personality is the biggest thing against him. He's flat.
Yeah. He's genuine. I think most people think of him as a genuinely good guy, but he doesn't pop with charisma the same way that Yang does. You know who pops with charisma? McGuire. He's actually pretty charismatic guy too. So he's rising, but also
Ray McGuire.
More money in ads than anyone else because of all the Wall Street connections too. Help with the ad.
Yeah. They all got their own pros and cons, and if I was a New Yorker, I would look more into the other candidates, honestly, but I really haven't. I actually read all of Maya Wiley's policies, and I was thinking about doing another series of all of them, like read all their policies. So that's something I need to get back to. I'm just so damn busy, man.
I have gone for them too. It is overwhelming because these guys each have like a 100-page policy book. I can't get through it all. I was trying to get a good read on it too. It is a lot.
Yeah. Well, I went through Maya's. I skimmed it. It took me like maybe an hour.
Well, I'll tell you, and this is the thing that Yang has on the president, probably from the presidential campaign and his skill set. What he's really good at is making his message easy, simple to understand. It's not that there's not depth there, but that's the key to good campaigning, right? Your goal is to get everyone to be able to know like 1, 2, 3 things you stand for.
Yep.
Like think about Elizabeth Warren, right? Like I've got a plan for that. Big fundamental change. Okay, you know that about her, even if you know nothing.
And break up the big tech. Those are her 3 big things.
Yeah, and like Bernie Sanders, like
Medicare for all,
political revolution. Like everyone knew that about her.
Medicare. I love doing my Bernie impression.
Yeah, my Bernie imitation used to be great, and I would break it out right now. But I feel like the social distancing, because it used to be like a party favor thing, has made me less good at it because I haven't had a chance to work at it. And I broke it out with a friend recently, and they were like, "What are you even doing?" So I don't want to embarrass the podcast until I get it right again.
I just have the fingers, is the healthcare and the billionaires.
Yeah,
that's about all.
Millionaires and billionaires.
You say millionaires, so he was a millionaire. Well, maybe not the millionaires, no more. One good book, you're a millionaire. It's not my fault. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I don't know.
10 million.
I like Bernie though. I like Bernie because he's fighting for the right reasons. And that's all I can say is he's a human person that fights for people, for the underrepresented, and I like him for that. He's predictable, he's consistent, and he's fierce, and I like that about him. But I don't agree with the whole single payer healthcare. I never thought that was a good idea to have his timeline didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I could see a version of that being the right thing to do.
I just say public option.
But it's hard to do it once. And we saw the Affordable Health Care Act. Great act. Made life a lot better. But with its website, right, it really struggled. It's a big new thing to do. There's something to be said about doing a public option first and then moving in there in the long form. I understand a lot of people are going to vigorously disagree with me on this. And I agree that healthcare is a human right and we can do better. But you have to have a plan that works first and in our current political system, right? Like even with the filibuster, you're not going to have 50 votes for it. You got to build support over time for something like that to happen.
Well, I think the public option makes the most sense because you can say, okay, we're going to give people 50 and above the public option this year, and really taper the jarring movement from private to government, right? I think that's a better way to do it, and let the market decide. Because if I work for, like, I'm a healthcare worker for my hospital, so if my hospital has a healthcare system or a healthcare plan for me right now, and it costs me $9,500 a year, that's what I've computed, $9,500 a year for healthcare for me and my family, my kids. And if they give Medicare for all and it's single payer and mine becomes illegal, and that one costs me more money, I'm not happy. I just want the option to say, no, thank you. That's a shit package. I'll keep what I got.
Yeah, Americans are big
made it good enough. And I think the biggest caveat is I think Congress has to be forced into the system they create for us.
Yeah, well, good luck, maybe.
Yeah, no.
But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
it is a virtue signal that needs to be said. You know what I mean?
You know, it has happened before, things like that.
Yeah, you can actually. You're a public servant. You don't like it, get the hell out of here. You can quit.
This is. I'm a big Obama fan, so I just have this fact. So sorry for using the Obama cheerleader over here, but I just know that because of him specifically. But before he was a state senator in Illinois, this is how corrupt it used to be. And I'm saying sometimes politicians do stuff that hurts them when it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You used to be able to take home the money until about like 2002 or 3 that in your campaign that you didn't spend. You got millions of donations. You could transfer it to your bank in December once the election
was quit and take it home.
Yeah. And so this is one of the things he did as state senator before he ran, was he got a bill passed that outlawed that. And like, so you got a lot of politicians voting for something. It's clearly corrupt. And like, okay, I'll take one for the team because this is so fucked up. Like maybe this is something we need to change. So sometimes it does happen, sometimes it does happen.
Well, let's talk about Joe Biden while we're at it, man. I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Biden. I had very low expectations, but damn it, he's exceeded them. And I am blown away by his willingness to buck the system that he helped create, that he helped foster. And he's going against the generals. He's going against the Pentagon. No, we're getting out. Okay. And, no, we're shutting down the pipeline. No, we're going to convert. We're going to contractually obligate these companies to go to 100% electric vehicles for government vehicles. We're not going to do gas. I didn't see that coming, man. It really, really shocked me, honestly. And healthcare is the thing he still hasn't addressed yet, but it's 100 days.
It's also the single hardest thing to do. And
it'll take them a whole 4 years.
Yeah, think about it like this, right? Literally, I think it's like 7 presidents from Teddy Roosevelt on tried to do the Affordable Care Act, just what Obama did. Mm-hmm. You had Teddy Roosevelt, you had Harry Truman, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton. I think I'm missing one in there. They all tried and failed. And some of them, like Bill Clinton, faced like an enormous political cost and couldn't get it done. It was so hard, even though it's so important. So it's sort of like, am I going to swing for the fences and get this thing that may or may not blow up in my face, or do I go for the things I think I can get done?
Right.
It's hard. That's why people end up giving up on it. But it's also why our system sucks.
Well, yeah. And I'm a pragmatist, so I know that realistically, like I said, he has far exceeded my expectations in the first 100 days. So, and if he can follow through this 9/11 thing and get out by 9/11 and not let there be any kind of bullshit false flag thing or a leak from the intelligence agency. Well, if we see there's a statistic that says we can get blown up in 60, we have a 90% chance of being attacked on September 10th. That kind of bullshit, the misinformation they want to back leak and, stuff like that. And
so, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm much more torn about this one, I'll be honest. Like, I studied foreign policy for 2 years because I care a lot about civilian casualties, right? Like for mass atrocities. And I'm really worried about the Afghani civilians. I think their Taliban will go all out and trying to seize as much territory. There's a good chance they'll expand. A lot of civilians can die. But at the same time, I understand, right? There's no easy way to leave this place. It is a power vacuum that is very much held up in part by American military force, right? Yeah. And, starting from President Obama, the goal is to get the Afghani government to be able to fight without help from the U.S. or minimal support. And they've lost more battles than they've won against the Taliban.
That's what NATO's for. That's what NATO is there for.
Yeah,
It
but
should be a NATO thing, not a US thing.
yeah. It's even then though, like it's the support's minimal now, so they're in a pretty vulnerable position, and that's the toll, right? That's why people haven't been willing to do it. It's not just like it's easy to say like, why aren't these guys home? You know, don't be selfish, get it done. They are all worried, Biden included, like what is going to happen to those civilians that we've protected. It's not just the terrorist threat; it's also like there's people are going to die probably, right? And it's like
there's some corrupt government people that will come into power and you know.
But I think the thing for Biden is, you know, this is even back when he was vice president. He carried, you know, forgive me, you can tell I'm a sentimentalist, but he carried this piece of paper in his like shirt pocket every day that would have the list of the names of every single soldier that had died in Afghanistan and Iraq. And his son, Bo, the son that died, he served there too. And he got I don't remember the details. He got in an argument once with someone with a general saying, like, this is what we're sending my son there for. He takes it personally, right? And so
I like that about him, though. I'm a veteran, so I like that the fact that he has skin in the
I
game.
didn't know that. I respect
I'm
that.
a veteran, so I like the fact that he has skin in the game.
Yeah,
you know,
well, that's the ultimate. That's when the ultimate responsibility is as president.
You're damn right it is. Yeah,
because you know the soldiers are the ones that have to carry the pain for things that they have to do in the force and losing their friends and risking their lives.
Yeah,
it's the generals and it's the presidents whose moral responsibility is it, but they don't carry the weight the same way. And so you have to feel that. There's this great Eisenhower story I've heard when he sent people on D-Day and he had to write a letter like during World War II when he was commander of the Allied forces. For those who don't know, you know, against the I know you know, but just for anyone that doesn't, like again, Nazis against the Axis forces. That's why he's able to run for president because it's a pretty important job and he nailed it. So that helps. And he was writing the letter of what would happen if everything went wrong, which, you know, is the worst nightmare on D-Day when they're landing all the troops into Europe. And the first version of the letter says, you know, just straight up, like we tried to do this. We thought it was the right thing, didn't work out. And he rewrites it 5 times. And the final one, even though it was never seen till decades later, was, I made the decision to send the forces in with the best information I had. The fault of the decision is mine alone, and I take full responsibility. And it was like, that's what a general has to do. That's what a president has to do. You carry the moral weight of that. And if you shy away from it, you shouldn't be in that position.
Yeah, that's something that I've always defaulted to with my lifelong conservative friends. I still fault them for being a Trump loyalist. Is they're like, what do you hate Trump for? I was like, I do hate him because he's hurt a lot of people with bad policy. He's hurt us as a nation too on the international stage. A laughing stock, man. I mean, he had his daughter. Get the fuck out of here. Your daughter. She's not even qualified to run a damn Macy's. What the hell is she doing at the damn, you know what I mean? Like that really, that's corruption. As if all your family members are in charge of shit, man. Come on, man. But anyway, that's a personal thing. But to my friends that I actually know these people, and like, I'm a lifelong conservative. It's like Trump's not a conservative.
No, he also doesn't understand the moral requirements of leadership. He never cared about it. Literally, he was asked, like, so the buck stops with you, which is what, you know, like it was just like Barack Obama said. It's what George W. said. It's what Bill Clinton says. FDR, Harry Truman, every American president, the decision stops with me. But Trump, the buck stops with anyone else. Direct quote. Never would take responsibility for a single decision that didn't go perfectly. And he, like, there was this whole thing. Blue state deaths. I don't care about New York City. Those are blue state deaths. That's not my responsibility. No, sir. Whenever it's your fault or not, it is your responsibility. Every single citizen should matter as much to you. And in a country of 330 million, you can't spend so much time thinking about only one.
Yeah. Half of them. Well, that's the thing I told my friends. I'm like, for me, first things first, what's the job of the president is to lead.
Yeah.
Lead. Let's define a leader. 2 characteristics I like about good leadership. Well, 3. First and foremost, when things go wrong, they own that shit. That's on me. They don't blame their peripheral. It falls on me. If things go right, they highlight the periphery. They say, hey, we did a good job, guys. Hey, thanks for it. But guys, I've had great support. It's not about me. These guys and women, these men and women are why we succeeded. And they deflect the good stuff. It's a good team. When it's wrong, it is your fault. And third is just personal accountability, period. And talk about a guy that didn't reflect any of those. And I can name 10 other things.
It's the hardest job in the world. You're going to get stuff wrong. That's okay. Learn from those mistakes. Be honest with yourself and other people and do better the next time.
Yeah, he can't be honest with himself, low enough other people.
No. Everything's the greatest thing he's ever done.
Nobody knows aviation like Donald J. Trump, okay?
The most extreme example I've ever seen was when he was interviewed once and he said, you're not known for being the most modest person. He's like, what? No, I am the most modest person you've ever met in your life.
You want to see modesty? Okay, just hold on. I'm modest. Okay, the most. No one knows modesty like Donald J. Trump.
That's silly stuff, and it's okay. We can make fun of it. It's bluster. If he was just that, it's okay. It's like you got to learn from your mistakes and try to do better. But I think Trump is the one thing you can convince people the least of, no matter what happens. Agree or disagree. And as you can tell, I'm not a fan. If you are, whatever, we're going to have to move on as from a country. It's a divisive era. And there's more we agree on than disagree. And I think one of the problems from this era is Americans have gone to the point where they view each other as enemies.
Absolutely.
And it certainly hurt being home all the time when we're not talking to each other. So we can look like cartoon stereotypes to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really hurts, man, because I was following Andrew Yang's campaign and I committed my channel to it. And thanks to the people that are watching right now and many others in the past that donated to my whatever and helped me pay for plane tickets and housing and food and shelter and all that kind of stuff everywhere I went. And then nothing for 14 months now. And just poof. One day you're in front of about 2,000 people live streaming and talking to people and just shaking hands and giving hugs. And I feed off of that. I'm an extrovert. I'm an ENTJ.
Me too, man.
I'm an
ENFJ. Yeah, I go back and forth every time I take that test between ENF and that. Yeah.
I draw like, I went to individual therapy for 3 years. So I had to figure me out. And so what fills my bucket up, my emotional bucket, is people. The more the merrier. If I can meet 1,000 people today, I would love it.
Me too.
I would talk to each person individually. Give me 10 minutes. Like, I want to know something about you, and that just fed me. And I went to the Yangapalooza in Iowa, man. There was like about 1,200 to 1,500 people roughly. And holy shit. And my daughter came with me for the first time. She's a first-time voter. She voted in the cycle, and then she totaled her car on the way out of the parking lot. A guy hit her. Ran over her hood of her car.
Oh my God.
Yep.
It's terrible.
So she came to Iowa with me because they had a concert there. Andrew Yang had what's the name of that group? I can't remember the name. They had three or four different people playing outside, outdoors in the cold rain, and we still did it. It was freezing cold. And she was there. She's an introvert. She gets overwhelmed by large crowds. It gets her anxious. So she'd have to leave and just go to the car and lay down and kind of just read something and unwind. But to me, that just gives me, I can go all day.
So you have probably felt the same way I felt about it last year. Not fun.
Yeah, man. I went sick because I'm a frontline healthcare worker. So like,
oh my gosh. Oh, I can't even.
Yeah, man. So for 6 weeks, I didn't see my kids or my girlfriend. I didn't touch a human being for 6 weeks.
That's terrible.
No physical contact with my family and the people I love. I had to go to work. I go to Walmart or whatever store. I have to do curbside pickup for my groceries. They stick it in my trunk and go home. Stopped at the gas station. I had to put on gloves and a mask, and I didn't touch anything. So I didn't want to, because I'm seeing, like, I had to go into people's homes and see people actively with COVID, like active COVID in their home. So we'd have to mask up and gown up and glove up and go in there and do a treatment, come out and take all that crap off and wash, and then get in my car and wash off my handles, my doorknobs, and my gift shifter. And you had to spray, all kinds of this whole routine you had to do. Go see 6, 7, 8 people a day, then come home and strip. On my way in, I had a ditty bag from the military, a laundry, like soft cloth holes. Put all my stuff out there, get stripped down to my drawers, man. Go straight to the shower, get out of the shower, and put that stuff straight. Well, I took the stuff, put it in the laundry, started, then I got in the shower. I had this whole routine for 6 weeks.
Oh my God.
I couldn't go see anyone.
It's awful.
I could just talk and thank goodness for FaceTime and all that kind of stuff, because this channel kept me mentally engaged. not just work and go home and watch Netflix all damn day. I actually doubled down on my passion project, man, and I was just killing it, man. But I miss it. I cannot wait to go to New York. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's I've been.
Where do you live at now?
In Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be going to DC in a few weeks. I'm moving back there, which is where I used to live.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it. Got lots of friends there excited to see. Yeah, man, I hated when this happened too. I went from being in grad school where I was like loving it, same way I felt about under college, just loved being around people all the time. Like 200, 100 people a day at least I would see, right? Like just
right.
And to literally nothing. And I was like in small New York City apartment. Not great. Not what you're going through. I'm not comparing, but it sucks. And so this is where all my Race to the White House stuff came from, right? Because I made an Iowa caucus. I had a presidential campaign management class where I made like a fake campaign plan for Biden. That was the candidate I got. And
wow.
I wanted to there was no polling average, no data. That's why I made this like stuff. It was like very artificial, very shoestring. And I was like, fuck it right before the election. I'm sorry. I don't know if I should be swearing.
No, you can say fuck all you want.
I'm good. You're not gonna boot me off. Good.
Nope.
And I got kind of lucky, but beat most of the forecasts there. This wasn't because I was like just that great. I got lucky, right? I wasn't, but I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I kept doing it for New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. I was like, okay, never doing that again. That took me way too much time. I kind of regretted it, but I had a bunch of friends encouraging me doing it for the general election. And then when like literally everything shut down and I was just bored to tears, just my homework, I was like, okay, I need something to do. I'm going to make this for real for the general, like do it right. Put it on a site, like try to build something. And then when I started getting some viewers, like I made it a full-blown thing, got ad money and started doing advertisements myself and made the whole forecast.
Well, they're telling me I need to go check my server on, oh boy, we got some psychopaths. Oh, good God almighty. What do I do with this? Okay, I just got raided by a bunch of racist pieces of shit.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
How do I do that? I don't know. What do I do, guys? Server settings. I don't know what to do, man. Anybody got any advice how to shut this shit down? I don't know anything, man. Wow, this is crazy. They just raided my shit and it looks pretty crazy now.
Yeah, I've never seen. You mean on the YouTube feed or
no? On my Discord, it literally has a bunch of racist memes in the thing. So how do I do? Okay, let me see if I can. How can I block this person? Like I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, I've never dealt with that either. That's awesome.
Oh, here we go. Let me. Bam! There we go. Okay, sorry guys, I gotta do this right now because previous 7 days. Man.
All right, while you're doing that, I'm gonna go through a few things, that I found with my data, right? It's just so I can keep it going until you're back on. Sound good?
Yep, I've already banned some people.
Oh, you're already good? You finish up. So here's one of the reasons why, I think Yang's in a good position beyond it, right? Doing well on the second choice, but I think and why you're seeing when they're doing the whole ranked voting thing in the polls, why he does well. Right now, among New York City primary voters, Yang has a 62% approval, 17% disapproval. So there are a lot of voters that like him that haven't decided he's their number one guy, and they may never. But you're not really getting the rejection of, the race gets framed in the way as Yang's number one, but most New Yorkers, not their thing. In reality, it's some feel that way, but it's like a fifth of the electorate, right? He's pretty popular with Democrats. That's the type of number you have when you win a Democratic primary nationally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the big. There's two big things that hurt Andrew in the national primary. Was one, experience, two, foreign policy. And so I think that this mayoral thing will give him an opportunity to become more aware of the foreign policy and how it affects the biggest city in the United States, and also gives him an opportunity to build relationships with the biggest teachers union, police union, the whole industry, the Wall Street people, in the entertainment industry. I mean, that's a big responsibility and a lot of relationships to have potential to grow. The cops are always tough because he's he's more of a, we need to check the cops.
Anyone who believe in reform right now, because and that's part of what makes reform so hard, right? Like if you're doing education reform, you want the teachers on board. It's a lot easier to get the cops on board, but there's like, it's viewed as a culture where the police think you're against them, where it's like, no, we just want to make sure everyone's treated equally, a fair and just system. So
that's what I'm hoping, that he can build those relationships. And if has anyone ever come out of New York City politics looking good? Nope.
Yeah. Rudy Giuliani. I know he's a terrible guy.
Yeah.
No, but he ran for, he won the New York City. I mean, he was on top of the Republican primary all that time because of.
Well, I think the only reason he's the anomaly is because of 9/11.
Yeah. That's, Bloomberg came out looking good. He didn't run a great. I mean, he clearly, once he got out of the ads and in the debate room, he wasn't there, but he had a good rep. I understand your point, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, right? I get it. Like,
no, you have more experience. I don't know shit. I just know that I've never heard anybody come out of New York looking good on the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, there's been people that have made good runs but haven't succeeded. There was someone in the 60s, I think Lindsay, was it Governor or Mayor Lindsay? I'm a little further back there, but like he was seen as a real presidential contender. Mario Cuomo, one of the most popular governors in the country. If he ran for president in 1992, definitely could have beaten Bill Clinton, current Cuomo's father.
Of course it is.
He gave like one of the great, before Barack Obama gave the greatest speech at a keynote back in 2004, like, there's not a black America or white America or a red America or blue America, it's the United States of America. Like that whole speech that took the whole nation by storm.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Audacity of hope, which is just like an amazing phrase. Because he's talking the speech about like slave people, people who are slaves or civil rights marchers. Like, that is American, the audacity of hope. I just love that. But before that, you had Mario Cuomo in 1984. Ronald Reagan wiped the floor. The best accusation against Reagan was you got inequality, right? You have policy that helps people that are wealthier but doesn't help people that are poor. And it was like a tale of two cities was his speech, right? And he was like a great speech maker himself. So there's one. But it's hard.
Yeah.
I think, though, I was in Yang Gang the first time, even though he won my respect. And the reason was, I'm sorry, guys, I know that's probably not popular here, but I needed someone with experience because the president's a hard job. And, maybe you can do the job, but you got to prove it to me. Unless you're Eisenhower and, you ran the Allied forces, like I just need some evidence to see how you lead. So for me, like I'd be open to Yang if he kills it as mayor, but I just need to see you in that role first.
But that's what I mean. That's his number one critique is experience. First and foremost. Second was foreign policy, because that's the president is in charge of military affairs. So he's got to get better at foreign policy.
I don't think Yang thought he was going to make it that far, and I could be wrong. So it is very hard to prep for foreign policy, and it's not the thing that drove him. He's not the only presidential contender to suck at foreign policy. I feel like half of them tend to, and once they get seriously, because no one really votes on that until you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, and that's when it hurts you.
Yeah, when you sound
you're like the final eight.
I'm trying to think who was the one candidate that didn't know the difference. Where the hell the country was? Oh man, was that who was that?
I don't remember.
The guy that said "yeah."
Oh wait, are you talking about
shit? What's his name?
He had a country issue. Howard Dean. I didn't know that Howard Dean had an issue like that. Wow.
It might not have been Howard Dean. He had a quick fall. Yeah. That. It was somebody else. Somebody didn't know Jack. What's that?
Rick Perry.
It's that guy always says stupid shit. It's very likely.
The funniest gaffe ever for me was Rick Perry's, where he couldn't remember the name of the three. He's like, the three things I want to get rid of. It was like education, EPA, and I can't remember the third. But he ended up it was the energy was the one he was trying to remember. And then he got chosen as Secretary of the Energy like 4 years later. It's kind of hilarious, right? Like,
oh yeah, Klobuchar. Thank you. It was Amy Klobuchar. She said the president of Mexico.
Yeah, that was
little things like that will really.
I think she knows her stuff,
but she just spoke, and that's all it takes. It's a clip.
Some of these guys, though, they really just don't know anything about foreign policy.
Yeah. Well, I served in the military. I only know so much. I don't know enough. I know that I think, in New York, it's all about Israel and Palestine. That's all.
Not as you think. It's a lot more divided. Most Jews have a negative opinion of the prime minister of Israel. So they might like Israel, but they don't necessarily like how Israel treats Palestinians. Like Americans.
I mean, it's either they like two-state solution or a different solution. I don't know what that is, but I think two-state solution is the only way to go personally, because I've actually looked into that. I'm like, okay,
I agree.
How can there not be a two-state solution? It's two different people. If they don't want to live in the same country, let them form. They're right there. But we shouldn't arm one to kill the other. We shouldn't look away from this one while they do genocide.
Yeah,
that's my problem. Is us.
I agree. And it's murky waters. I get the stuff is complicated, but countries aren't perfect. We have our own history where we need to follow our values. I think right now is the time where Israel is not following its values. It's a democracy. It was, it was founded as an escape from the Holocaust to create a refuge. And with that should be coming, which is very much you've seen of American Jews, right? I'm saying this as my dad's Jewish. I don't mean to do sweeping generalizations here, but you saw like with American Jews, there's very much a focus of, because we have faced discrimination, we need to fight for other people that have. And so you see all these organizations like the NAACP at its origin, half Jewish, half Black, right? Power completely taken over to African-American leadership within a few years, but goal is to help build it off, right? Like in Israel, I think because they have come so close to the brink multiple times from being wiped out, especially when they're weaker, fear is very much a driver in their politics, and they go too far out of the fear. Which is often justified, but that there's a point where it isn't justified in actions to protect yourself when it hurts other people. Now, again, most simple fucking coverage of an incredibly complicated issue. I'm not trying to, do it all at once and get everyone to understand. There's nuances here, but
there's lots of people that are very. There's lots of intelligent, informed people in the past that tried and failed. So we're not going to solve it tonight on a live stream on my podcast, but
don't sell yourself short. You never know. This could be the moment.
Well, I don't think I'm informed enough to even have a good enough. I just know on a superficial level, generally speaking, I don't see how you can't at least think a two-state solution is your primary focus to make sure everyone gets a piece of what they want. They won't get everything they want, but there's a lot of hatred over it. I couldn't believe what I saw when I seen people get interviewed on the streets. I'm like, holy cow. Very intolerant people. Then there's people that want to just unite. There's Palestinians and Jews that want to unite the country and say, hey, we can live amongst each other. Then there's there's the separatist part, which we have that here in this country. We've proven it. January 6th, we proved that we have some real problems here. We don't need to be worrying about other people's stuff. We can't fix our own business. That's how I kind of look at it too. Is like, how can we critique others?
Because no one else will do it. That's why. It's not that we're always right. We're wrong a lot. It's good to be a little more modest, but honestly, we're the most powerful democracy in the world. And when the U.S. is out, we saw no one filled that void, or occasionally they would, but never when there was any real danger or economic costs. It's like, America needs to always support democracies. Like we can't be doing what we did in South America in the 80s or in the Cold War and ever supporting military coups. That stuff's unacceptable. But no one else is going to be there when a country's on the brink of democracy or autocracy. It's going to be there to lend them a hand, help them make the early transition, empower them to make their own decisions, not for us to implant their will or force it by military, right?
Yeah.
Look at it, right? Democracy has spread all around the world from almost nothing to the dominant form of government. Plenty of imperfect democracies, but even the autocracies like North Korea, you go to their website, they pretend they're a democracy, right? Because they want to sound like it so they can just say it. They're people, although I'm sure North Koreans are buying it. But like people will choose it on their own, but the countries have to come to that conclusion on their own for self-determination. And it has to be founded in that struggle and peaceful protest, right? If you import it, it's just so hard to work. It's so hard to make it work.
And I'm just tired of this country repeating the same mistakes of Vietnam, of going in there and trying to change someone else's government. And then as soon as we leave, get our asses kicked for about 400,000 people died or whatever that number was. A couple 100,000 people died. Then to come home with your tail between your legs and declare victory, a very Trumpian period for whoever's in charge. Like we're out of here. We won. And as soon as you leave, it just goes right back the way it was. For us to keep repeating these same mistakes all over the globe now, especially Central America and South America, we've really made a mess.
Yeah.
And, so that's why I think foreign policy is very important for Andrew to get once he gets settled, because I really do think he's going to win. I think it's going to be,
I think he probably will.
The odds are in his favor. And once they have the debates, if he has good debates, it's over.
If people watch them, I wish I had better info on this. I don't know how much how many Senate for Michigan, just to ask, like how many before the last year, because I know you've been super engaged. You become like a super citizen when it comes to engage with democracy. But before that, were you watching any of the Senate debates?
Zero. I never watched a debate before the Trump and Hillary one ever.
Yeah.
I just saw him walking around her like a damn shark. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is he walking around the stage?
That was disturbing to me too.
What? And she's just like, just there's these deplorables, that hurt her. That whole deplorable thing kind of united the deplorables, if you will. But nobody knows that. Hindsight's always 2020. But boy, that's the first time I watched the debate, like start to finish, and I was like, wow, that was a shit show.
Yeah, you picked a hell of a first one,
right? So, and what it really was actually, I got to say this right. I watched the primaries too of the Republicans because of Trump, the Trump factor, the nut job. Your dad killed fucking Kennedy or whatever. He said the craziest shit. And on the other side, you had Bernie versus Hillary. And I supported Bernie out of ideology, not out of a real understanding of policy. Just as a humanist, that's it. And I had a little more reservations for Hillary with my military background, and I had a bias confirmed with the whole Benghazi thing, and I didn't really look into it enough. I'm a veteran. She failed at Benghazi. Okay, no Hillary. I was very simple-minded when it comes to writing people off. So I wound up with Bernie. So I had to watch that. But the entertainment was a Republican one, So that's the first I actually paid. Is more for entertainment.
Man, that whole cycle was like a slow-moving horror show for me because in 2012, someone asked me, who is the person you would least want to be president? And that's when Donald Trump was saying, first black president in history. He wasn't born here. He was born in Kenya. He's a Muslim. Well, maybe he's not, but people keep telling me this. Maybe it's true. I think it might be true.
Maybe. You just never know.
I was like, dude, what the hell? Why is this catching on? Did you know that John McCain, not a conspiracy, direct fact. And I know when people say that, it often is a conspiracy. So just look at Wikipedia or search New York Times. You'll find this is a legit fact. John McCain was actually not born in the United States. Absolutely could serve because his parents were in the military, both American citizens. That's all you need to do, as Supreme Court precedent has shown in related cases, to be a natural born citizen and as an American parent. So you don't need to be born there. He was born on a military base in Panama.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But it was the black guy everyone thought wasn't born in the U.S. because he was born in Hawaii. Even though his newspapers, the day he was born 50 years ago, right, showed congratulations to the family of Barack Obama, unless they were planning his presidential run from Kenya.
Well, and whatever is this Barry something or other.
Yeah.
Was it Barry? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But the point was in 2012, because of all that stuff and seeing who Donald Trump was and his ego. And if you're around New York, you got to know Donald Trump earlier than the rest of the country. I was like, this guy would be my absolute worst nightmare to be president. So we ran. My first instinct was like, this will be funny. He'll be out. And then after 1 month, when I saw after the first debate, his polls didn't drop. I was like, okay, this is not funny anymore. Yeah. I'm starting to take this guy seriously. I could see like Republicans were very tired of corruption in politics and corruption that was legitimately in their party. And they're trying to be this guy's a solution. And it was like, I think this guy is not going to go the distance, but I'm not so sure. And then once it was months, man, I was telling all my friends, this is a horror. Like, don't laugh this off. Like, this could be real. And again, apologies to Trump supporters out there. He's definitely not my guy. But
fuck Trump. I say it all the time. Don't worry. I am not a fan. I haven't liked Trump since I was in high school. My history teacher came in one day and he was frazzled, man. He was really in a bad mood. And I'm like, hey, yo, Mr. Teskey, what's going on? He goes, Littlefield, turn off the lights. That's my last name is Littlefield. He goes, Littlefield, turn off the lights. I'm like, yes, sir. Turn off the lights. He puts a VCR tape in the old school. You had the wheel in the TV. Put the VCR tape and he's hit play. And there's Donald Trump bitching about Native Americans having more rights than him for casinos. Because his casino was struggling. He went bankrupt as a casino, which is damn near impossible. Yeah. And he said one phrase, and Mr. Teskey was chewing his gum so hard. He was so mad. And I live in an area where we have the Pokagon tribe here, very dominant in this area, and they have been oppressed for our presence here as the colonizers. So we're more grossly aware of the atrocities because of our school. We were the Hartford Indians, like that's our mascot was an Indian, and we had the Pokagon tribe and stuff. And then here comes Donald Trump saying, I don't think it's fair they get the special treatment and stuff. And the guy in the Congress and Senate, who it was, like, Mr. Trump, they have sovereign nation status. They get to do what they want because of the atrocities. He goes, come to think of it, they don't even look like Indians to me. They don't even look like Indians.
It's
And he's
so
like, it's a good thing we have to depend on Donald J. Trump's approval for who is an Indian, who is not. I'm just saying this. They don't look like Indians. I've seen Indians. They don't look like Indians. Not that one. You know, and Mr. Teskey was his massacres were just, and he said, Littlefield lights. I was like, yes, sir. He goes, this guy is a danger. And that was back in like 89, I think it was, when I was a freshman in high school, 88, 89, somewhere in there. I'm old. I'm old enough to be your dad, buddy. Almost. 45. So yeah, I could 18 years older than you.
Yeah.
I got friends with kids your age, you know. So but yeah, so like back in the 80s, man, like Mr. Teskey called it. He's like, this guy is a danger to society.
Yes.
And he has too much power to be that dangerous. And from that day forward, I was like, this guy's a freaking racist and a misogynist.
He is, you know, the thing is, politics is going to always represent the full spectrum of humanity in this society.
Or lack thereof, yeah.
And good leaders make people aspire to be better. You know, for me, again, sorry to keep harping on the same points and be such a sentimentalist. Like for Barack Obama, like, because again, I'm young. When I was in high school, he was president. Like he represented like the best for me. Like, and I aspired to be like him in a lot of ways, right? Trump pulls on people's worst strings. And I know so many good people that support him that the side of him that deals with politics has all of a sudden turned extremely nasty in the last 8 years. There are so many, and this is not all Trump supporters, but there are a lot of folks out there that are so driven by their dislike of Democrats who are no longer viewed as their fellow Americans, but as a threat. And it's like, dude, no, we're on the same team here. What's good for any American is good for you, right? Like when someone is struggling on the south side of Detroit or in the Bronx or in rural West Virginia, you know, that's my brother there. That's my fellow American, and we want to make their lives better too. We're all in this together. And instead it's divide and conquer. It's like that guy's getting something other that you're not getting, or they're also getting the same thing you're getting. Screw them. Let's not give them any more aid. Let's not give vaccines to New York City, as Donald Trump joked about all the time, right? That governor in Michigan, you know, screw her state. We're going to cut off the services there and try to prevent them from getting any help just because she was mean to me, or I'm worried they won't vote for me a second time. It's just there's cruelty like that shouldn't be in politics. It's just disgusting to me.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Like, I just hope that we can evolve past this. We got this whole QAnon whack job that we got in Congress now. That's also dangerous. These people are ignorant at best, willfully ignorant too. And I have a friend that's a flat earther. Where do you go? I was like, dude, please come on my channel. I'd like to talk to you about this. Like, I'm not coming on your channel, bro. I'm like, seriously, dude. Like, he's a good husband. He's a good father. He owns his own business. He takes care of business, man. He's a good guy. He was a psycho back in the day. He was a psychopath, but he found God. Okay, what if that helps you? Go for it.
Yeah,
God be with you. I'm an atheist. I don't fuck with it. But if that helps you, if it's a good coping mechanism to get you to be a psycho, get you off of drugs and alcohol and beating people up, man, I'll buy you a Bible if that helps. I don't give a shit. I just want you to be a better person. But to be a flat earther is to deny all reality. And this guy owns a tree trim business, right? And he's like, you know, bro, gravity's a theory. I was like, while you're on your branch, why don't you just walk off the edge of it? Gravity is no longer a theory. It is a law that needs to be feared and respected and understood because it's measurable and repeatable and predictable. It meets the scientific method.
Yeah, if you're going to say it's not really, like, you got to have like a matrix situation where all our reality is fake, you know? Yeah. And if, as long as, you know, I don't know, maybe ask Mark Kelly, astronaut Mark Kelly, maybe when he goes up there, it's all flat and they,
I know. And he's like, I went skydiving. He goes, I went skydiving. It was flat. I was like,
you weren't high enough, brother.
Yeah. I've been on a plane that's higher than skydiving, right? Yeah, even on a plane, you can't see the curve, really.
You should buy him, instead of a Bible, you should buy him a boat ticket. And ask him if he falls off the cliff.
I'm a guy that's in the Navy. I crossed the Atlantic. I've been from here.
You're on the Pacific. You're on the wrong side. That's where you would have seen the drop off.
Yeah, no kidding. But like, I've been from here all the way as far north as Russia, as far east as the Baltic, no, not the Baltic, the Black Sea, the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, up to Romania and Bulgaria. I've been all the way to hell up there. Northern Africa, South America. I drove our ship through the Panama Canal, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Wow, that was an experience.
I didn't fall off the planet. There is no ice wall. And, you know, there's just so many
follow-up questions.
Oh, yeah. He has an excuse, but not a reason. You know, I'm like, there's excuses. He's like, oh, I was like, the International Space Station. He goes, prove it. Prove the Earth is round. I'm like, okay, look up at night. What do you see? A bunch of round things. And you see a shadow on the moon. It's not flat. It has a curvature to the shadow. You can do it with the basketball right here, the flashlight. Do it with a plate.
Smart. That was clever.
Do it with a basketball. Do it with a plate. Do it with the basketball. And look up. That matches. He goes, well, just because the moon's round doesn't mean the Earth's round. I was like, okay. But look at everything else. Is everything round except us?
Does he acknowledge the possibility that he could be wrong?
No, he's biblical. He's one of those old school, like he went all in on the Bible, like literal.
Next time you see him wear two threads of the same cloth, then you should.
I've told him all that stuff. He has tattoos on his scalp for crying out loud.
I was going to say you should be outraged next time you see him with two threads.
You should be stoned at the edge of the city limits. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
but he's that kind of guy, and I was like, okay, another way to do it is I can show you the International Space Station at night.
Anything about flat Earth?
Well, he says, well, it's a phrase in the Old Testament about the stars will fall to the earth, and there's a filament, which is considered the atmosphere. So what they call the atmosphere is filament, and it's a dome-shaped filament in the Old Testament. One passage. That's all it took. One passage to change his life.
Well, like poetry. So why would you take that part literally? Because a lot of it is poetic.
This is not even debatable. You know, like I can.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? So I've been trying to get him to come on, just for pure entertainment. You know, but he says, I'm not coming on there. I was like, then you don't have confidence to come on.
Well, he has no confidence. He knows. I bet you think deep down he knows he's wrong or no?
I think he must if he won't come on.
I have a friend that's a flat earther, sort of, but not really. He does it as a joke.
It's not funny.
Well, he goes on this flat earther website and he thinks they're all joking, but he's not really sure. The head of the Flat Earther Society, this is back in 2012 when he was hanging out with this guy, my friend Adam, and he said he quote to show that it was a joke for someone at least. He said the guy was like outraged at Mitt Romney or Barack Obama for saying that Mitt Romney was like flat earth first for not recognizing climate change. And he's like, how dare you? The Flat Earth Society recognizes climate change as a real reality. Why are you lumping us in with those guys? So some of these guys are like joking around, and he was just trying to say something ridiculous. But I don't think all of them.
They say some ridiculous things. There's people who spend resources trying to prove that one guy shot himself up with a rocket. You see that? That's hilarious. He literally built a rocket and strapped himself to it. He made it back down all right. Gravity is not just a theory in this moment, right? So he says, I'm going to shoot myself on a rocket and videotape it.
Well, I didn't mean did he get stuck up there in the atmosphere. I meant like, is he okay?
No. He came back down and had an injury. He had an injury. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I wonder why.
So yeah, gravity. It's weird. But he shot himself up, and the whole idea was, I'm going to get high enough to take pictures, a 360-degree picture, and show you guys it's flat. I'll get a picture of the ice wall and all that kind of business, whatever. You could do it with a balloon. I'm just saying. Yeah. There's a thing called a weather balloon. There's a satellite. China has a satellite that has the farthest out one that has a 24-hour. It takes a picture every, I think it's 6 minutes. It takes a still photo of the planet every 6 minutes, and it's the farthest one out.
Pretty cool.
It's got the slowest velocity because it's got the greatest distance to stay inside that thing. And I said, you can go. He goes, that's all propaganda. I was like, every website, all of them, China.
What do you even do, man? And the problem is that's like our politics now. Trump won the election.
Pure denialism.
What? You don't have any evidence. There's no court case that's shown it. But
I know that's
also on Trump, though. It's on Trump most of all because people have a reasonable expectation that the president is going to tell them the truth. So I blame him most of all for that.
He definitely fed into it, man. And we have a QAnon movement of psychopaths that just I don't know, man, a bunch of incels and just this whole weird thing. These people just raided my Discord server. Okay. You put a bunch of racist memes on my private Discord server. It changed nothing. It's just like, okay, now what are you gonna do with your life? Like, move on. But that's those people are U.S. citizens.
They are.
Vote. That's the absurd part.
Yeah, and I know I've been harsh on here. I'm gonna keep putting back to this about how I think there are variances here. I sharply disagree with their decision, but I don't think most Trump supporters are out there trying to. I don't think owning the lone libs is the primary motivation, but there is part of that. He does drift politics towards the dark side, and we got to get through this point where losing is seen as the ultimate cost, right? Like that's a very dangerous part for democracies. We can look at other democracies that have gone through rough patches and moved back towards autocracy. It's
all or nothing.
It's when people get to the point where the other side losing is used as such a danger for the country that we have to break the rules to do it. And that's where things like attacking voting rights, pretending the election didn't happen, or not didn't happen, but trying to overturn the results suddenly becomes acceptable. And so there's a movement among Democrats which is saying, well, we have to fight fire with fire. If they're going to be doing this, maybe not in the overturning the elections, but in some of the other stuff like gerrymandering, and the Supreme Court, and I'm just saying, be careful, guys, because it is true if one side doesn't realize what's happening, that can hurt democracy. The other one that's more common, and we also have to area that danger, is when it becomes a race to the bottom with American people or the country's people holding the bag as we each start tearing down institution after institution. And every action is justified by what the last side did. Because if we expand the court, what do you think the next president's going to do?
I'm 100% against that. 100%. That's my biggest pet peeve is why float that idea right now? You got the primaries coming up, man. Are you trying to give them fuel for fodder? Are you seriously trying to give away the midterms by saying, I think we're going to look into, what do you think about putting 4 more on there?
Because they're right. What happened, what Mitch McConnell did, unacceptable, attack on democracy, degraded it. Expanding the court's going to be even worse. And then you get someone else who wants to overturn elections. Let's say 20 years down the road, every Senate is doing this, increasing it by 4 or 10 or 20.
Right.
What happens when they decide to double the court? The institutions are so much more weakened and this is so normalized, and they only appoint cronies who will be rubber stamps. Yeah. The court and the judges Trump could have got through, they might be quite conservative, but they were not willing to play games with those elections. Different world there. Someone who knows the system better and appoints judges from that point from the beginning, and that can rewrite the whole system like that. You're putting our whole country at risk. You just don't know. Maybe that wouldn't happen, but it's a viable risk. So we can't.
Bottom line is, Supreme Court is the end all. And there's a reason. Like I kind of still play the idea of, okay, should we have term limits?
That's fair. That's different.
Supreme Court justices. Okay. Well, then you need a system to do that fairly without any bias to say, okay, maybe every president should get 1 Supreme Court justice. And there's 11? How many is there? 9 of them? There's 9 Supreme Court justices?
Maybe 2 a term.
Well, just like
if they have term limits and you could choose to re-up someone, maybe
right, whoever's been there the longest is out. You're termed out, man. It's not an age thing. You've been here for, let's say, 16 years. You got 9 people. 1 every 4 years goes. That's 36 years. So divide by that's 9 terms. That could be 4 presidents. So I think we could do something without trying to pack the court and confirm their greatest fears. You can't trust Democrats. The Democrats said we're not going to do it. They wouldn't answer that question. They won't answer that question, and now they're going to do it. Like no. They're not going
to do it. There's zero chance. You got to remember, FDR at the height of his power tried to do this, and this one of the most popular presidents ever, won 4 terms. He couldn't do it, and that's when he lost the midterm overwhelmingly. Biden knows that. Nancy Pelosi shut it down. It's not going to happen. We don't have the votes. There are at least 20 Democrat senators that think it's a terrible idea and bad for democracy.
But who floated this dumbass thing? Like, who floated that? That is a terrible idea to pack the courts. And you know what I mean? I'm suspicious of that too. Like, who floated it?
It's some people on the far left. It's certainly not all the far left because other people have concerns. You could say Pete Buttigieg, but that's not at all what Pete Buttigieg was talking about. He was talking about big structural reform and trying to do it in a more bipartisan way that would things like you're talking about, right, to make it more fair. And part of that, his idea was 15 judges, but it wasn't like, oh, we're going to appoint 6. And he wasn't saying this is the path. It was like, let's do something where
an idea.
Democrats select 5 of the justices, Republicans select 5 of the justices, and then the 10 judges select the other 5. The goal is to make it nonpartisan, right? Mm-hmm. So he kind of got it into the lifeblood stream of American politics, but he certainly wasn't saying, let's just pack the courts like FDR wrote.
Yeah, and Pete Buttigieg is in charge of transportation.
Yeah.
So that's not the problem. I have a problem with anyone in a leadership position that has the capability of saying something that's stupid and giving the Republicans the fuel they need to swing the Senate and become obstructionists for 6 more years. That's the most vulnerable place, the Senate, You want
to talk Senate stuff, by the way? Because I got Senate forecast. We can talk about what the Senate stuff.
Absolutely. We got 2 Yang Gang candidates running, Erica Rhodes and Reverend Wendy Williams. Or
are they running?
Williams, man. Hamilton. I keep saying Wendy Williams. Damn it. TV.
Wendy Hamilton. Oh, yeah. I was wondering. Yeah. I was like, oh, is that the same?
No.
I just didn't want to sound ignorant, so I didn't say anything. I did. I mean, I do that all the time.
I call myself out all the time. It's not.
I just started on your show like 2 minutes in, so I wasn't going to say it then. Now, you're probably going to your opinion on me if you're watching either way. So where are they running?
So Reverend Wendy Williams, Hamilton. Fuck you, boys. DC. Yes.
Oh,
so you'll be in her district, bro.
Oh, so this is for
U.S. It's a non-voting congressional seat.
Is Elizabeth Norton retiring? I don't know if you know who that is. It's a long time one. Are they primary challenge?
I have no idea.
It's a little in the weeds. She's not elected. I mean, she doesn't have a vote, so I don't.
Right, a non-voting, and this is a very important time because they're talking about making DC a state. Now, that's how you fuck up the Senate for the Republicans is make DC a state, and that'll be like, and Puerto Rico.
Man, maybe we just do it because they're Americans and we don't want to be an empire.
I'm saying that's the whole point. Is the biggest resistance is because it's not advantageous for Republicans. They see it as a attack on democracy because it doesn't help them. If they were all Republicans, we bring them in.
Dude, honestly, I know this only would pair one with Guam or to Puerto Rico or DC, but Guam is Republican leaning, mostly military. Military folks tend to, not always, but lean conservative. Guam, more often than not, elects Republican governors. Mm-hmm. Like, they deserve to vote too. I'm no problem.
If you're paying tax to a federal tax system, that's taxation, not representation. That's unconstitutional.
It is. And it's also like, if we're a country founded on democracy, let's be a country founded on democracy.
That's right. You got to maintain that democracy. And you can't just do it because it's not politically advantageous.
Every generation in America has expanded democracy. Let's not be the one that contracts it.
Yeah, I'm not with the contracting part of it. But yeah. So who have you dove into on the Senate?
So just on the big picture, right? Because I do a forecast for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, Democrats 50, Republicans 50. So if Democrats lose one, Republicans take it, right? Tie, we got VP breaks the tie. So Democrats would hold on. And so there's like 4 races that are the most important in a way, that the vulnerable Republicans. Because if you're a Democrat or you lean Democrat, you're used to thinking of this, like, where are the seats we have to take? Now we finally took the Senate. Now it's been a long time. So, Mark Kelly in Arizona, the astronaut, Raphael Warnock in Georgia. We got Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada, which everyone assumes is a super Democrat state, but Democrats keep winning it by like 1%. That seat is absolutely in play. Don't let anyone tell you differently. We absolutely could lose that in a midterm. So like if you're looking for races to donate, that's a good one too. And then New Hampshire, a little more Dem leaning. They have a super popular Republican governor. If Democrats can hold on to all 4, they're going to win. We're not going to lose Colorado unless it's an overwhelming landslide.
But who is up on the Republican side to defeat?
So that's the other way we win, right? We can probably afford to lose one of those seats. If we lose 2, we're probably done. Pennsylvania is the best one. That's an open seat. Retired Senator Pat Toomey. My forecast says 40 to 43% chance of winning. Definitely winnable. Most competitive seat in the nation. Second best opportunity is North Carolina. That's tougher, right? It's a little more Republican leaning, but it's open. But
they did make some progress there.
Yeah, right. There's a candidate I like a lot who hasn't decided she's running again yet, Joan Higginbotham. She is an astronaut. So we had a lot of astronaut talk today.
So a lady of STEM. Nice.
The 3rd Black woman in American history to be an astronaut.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And guess what? She would be the 3rd Black woman in history to be a senator if she won. How cool would that be? And she's very rocket scientist.
I think that's what bothers me the most because I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. And the girls were like, my youngest daughter was like, why aren't there more women in politics? I was like, because women have only been voting for 100 years, kid. That's one person ago. Like, there's women alive right now that were born without the right to vote.
It's crazy. Oh, wow.
And she's like, whoa. I was like, it's been 101 years.
It blows my mind whenever I meet civil rights marchers because people put their lives on. I had an Uber driver actually coming from the MLK Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta. It was crazy that the guy who was picking me up of all the times in my life I would meet someone came in as a kid from Brooklyn, drove up to New York or got a ride with his aunt and fell in love with Atlanta, but he was in the jail of MLK and marching in Selma at one point. Amazing, right? Real American hero. But
man,
yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Stuff takes a long time.
Well, the thing is our country is 51%, 49%, 50-50, right? We're half women, half men.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell by our representation. I think that needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be a focal point to say we need more women representation at the table, period. I think Cori Bush is going to be a rock star. I'm a huge fan of Cori Bush. Single mother on welfare to the U.S. Senate or Congress. I'm sorry.
U.S. Congress, yeah.
Yeah, U.S. Congress, not the Senate, but still.
One of my favorites is, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name right now. She ran in the district John Ossoff lost when he was running, and now senator from Georgia when he was running for Lucy McBath. She, African-American woman, lost her son due to gun violence and started getting engaged, trying to reduce gun violence and save people like her son, and then decided to run for office in a seat that Republicans had won for like 40, 50 years straight in one, suburban district right outside of Georgia.
But the thing is, there's so many places that go unchallenged because they're scared to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I support a guy, Richard Ojeda, started a thing called No Dems Left Behind.
Oh, I remember him when he ran for Congress in West Virginia, yeah.
Well, he ran for president in 2022. He's the first one to drop out.
I know, first one to announce, first one to drop.
Yeah.
I respect him a lot. I think that might have been a little big to start with. Although then, again, Yang came out of nowhere.
He's been on my channel a few times. He's a veteran.
He's one of my favorite guys that ran in 18. That's awesome.
I got a couple good interviews with him where he's a pistol, I had him on for Veterans Day, which is pretty cool that he came on my channel on Veterans Day, which is 100% honored. And I cannot wait to meet that man in person. I'm actually going to be I'm going down to Kentucky May 25th or something like that, 23rd. I'm going down to Kentucky because of COVID, Mike Breuer couldn't do any kind of like thank you thing. And so I think it's on the 23rd.
I think Ojeda might have had the best run of any congressional candidate in terms of overperforming his district in the country. He was like near the very top in 18.
Who's that?
Ojeda. He was near the very top.
Yeah.
In terms of. Oh, I was saying it's Ojeda.
Ojeda or Ojeda. It depends on how you want. I say Ojeda.
Yeah, well, sometimes you read things a lot, and then you never really you only hear him interviewed like 4 to 5 times.
Well, that's the thing. That's the first thing I said, and I had him on my channel first time. I was like, okay, I want to make sure you get it right. Is it Ojeda or Ojeda or Ojeda, like Hispanic?
Firmly believed that it was Hermione Granger, and vigorously no, it is Hermione. That's what we called her, Hermione, before the first movie, and we would argue viscerally if anyone disagreed. It's like, okay, I guess we got this one wrong.
Yeah, we messed up. But yeah, he's actually assaulted while he was running for Congress. He got hit in the head with a pipe, broke bones in his face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. You definitely go. My very first interview with him was like a year and a half ago.
Wow.
He told the story about him running and a guy being like, hey man, you got to fly. Yeah. Come back here to my car. He's opened up his SUV trunk or whatever it was, pipe. And they beat him. They tried to beat him to death. They left him for dead.
How did I miss this? Oh my God. This is
no, this is not before. It's like 2017, 2018.
Wow.
Somewhere. Let me Google it because he has pictures on. There's pictures online of him in the hospital with fractures in his face and shit. And this guy's 22-year veteran of the airborne in the Army. They're called land and smash. Like they just jump out of the sky, they land and they destroy shit and say, "Come on in, boys." They're like a firecracker. Just throw them in there. Yeah, Richard Ojeda, man, that dude is an idol.
I saw him interviewed with Van Jones on CNN, and I was very impressed. He just had a ton of empathy and ability to speak past political barriers, which is really good. I always respect people that have the ability to make their message heard.
Like, he ran in the most reddest place ever, West Virginia.
Yeah. And it's and you know, if you get beyond the talking points and the buzzwords, sometimes you can do it. It's not easy. You have to be a high empathy person and charismatic. But
yeah, so 2016.
That guy deserved to win, but it is an incredibly hard district to win.
I'm gonna send this to myself and I'll bring it up and show you, man. He is, again, like, he's one of those guys that if he trusts you after you interview him, he gives you his phone number, his actual phone number.
Really? I can totally see that.
And he's like, anytime you want, buddy, call me up and I'll come back anytime you want. You know, he talks real fast, real country. And now he's got a YouTube channel he started. Now he's got this nonprofit called No Dems Left Behind, where he's trying to raise funding for people in the very red districts that need Democrat challengers.
Well, sometimes that's where you start. That's where you build a foundation. And there was a recent finding that showed that in districts where there was like the really red districts, like Ojeda. Sorry, man.
Ojeda.
Yeah, Ojeda. Okay, where Ojeda ran. Democrats did much better. Well, not much better. They did markedly better when there was someone running versus no one running in the local seat, because those were your like campaigners. Biden did like 1.5 to 3 points better in those places. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but think about Georgia. We won Georgia by like 0.2%. We lost 2016 in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania by a lot less than 1.5%. So that stuff matters, right? Like, you know, you take a swinging election. Would have changed the election in Florida for the Senate and governor in 2018.
Yeah, so here's Ojeda in this New York Times article. There he is, man.
Wow.
Fractured skull, fractured cheek, broke his jaw, his cheekbones broke, jaws broke, knots all over him, man.
Damn.
And he got up and did a damn press conference in his hospital bed.
Well, that's very Teddy Roosevelt-esque. You know the story where Roosevelt got shot and in his glasses case was metal protected him, and he just looked down and then just continued giving the speech for like another hour afterwards. So that's very Teddy Roosevelt. I respect that.
That's something I liked about Reagan when I was a kid, when he was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he had just got an assassination attempted, shot in the armpit, and then he comes out and a balloon pops, and he goes, "You missed me," and I'm like, "Holy shit, man!"
Oh, that explains why he's so popular, because that's having the type of
it's just funny
confidence, suaveness, and show of, you know. Well, it's not easy to have.
Economically, it was a disaster for the people. But the personality was, you know, he was like the same effect that Obama had, that a great public speaker, and you get him behind closed doors, he got shit done. Take down that wall, you know.
I definitely don't mean this in a braggy way, but I think it's a cool story, right? Because this isn't my great grandfather being a big deal in politics. He was just like a local guy, but he was the drama teacher and principal in Reagan's school. And, you know, this is true of almost everyone that runs for president. You know, there's a few exceptions. They almost always have like either something crazy happening with their parents, like absent father or mother, or like crazy over-involved mother or father. And so Reagan's father was pretty absent. He really struggled with alcohol. And my great-grandfather really took him under his wing, you know, in Dixon, Illinois. And when he got hurt in football, you know, he was in drama class with him. He was like, "Oh, you should," you know, he had all this free time. He was like, you should try out, you know, for the play. I think you'd
try acting.
Yeah. So he was, you know, I found a letter like when I was doing a history research project in college, and I like on the back, I was like, "Holy shit, this is from Reagan to my great-grandfather." And it was right before he ran for office, saying like, "I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for everything you did for me," you know.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, right? That's
awesome. Yeah. My family history is a bunch of welfare recipients and drunks and druggies. And, you know, like my family hasn't had a good track record. Like I used to do stand-up comedy, so I just make fun of it. Like, it's tragic, but you got to laugh. If you don't laugh, you cry. And I'm not big on crying. I'd rather laugh about stuff. So I'd make fun of my own family history. And this is back when like the DNA thing first came out, or not DNA, but like just ancestral, like researchers, you could pay them $400, $500, $600. They'll do your research through the birth records and all that stuff back then, when the internet was first getting going, you know, in the 90s. So I did a stand-up joke where I'm like, you know, anybody else had their DNA checked or your ancestry checked? Yeah. What would you find out? Oh, I'm a you know, 12th removed from King Henry III or some bullshit, you know, or I'm the Duchess of Wales was my great. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I was like, well, yeah, I paid a guy, and $400, and he came months later, and he gave me a pamphlet full of information, and he just pat me on the shoulder, goes, Mr. Littlefield, congratulations, you're sixth generation poor white trash, and he took off running. And I made like a family crest T-shirt with markers, and instead of having a lions and there's like swords crossing and like wheat or some shit that tells you what your family did, and these little symbols all over these things, I said we had a cheese cutter and a fly swatter with a can of Spam and a food stamp receipt and a chihuahua humping a foot, like the ultimate white trash symbol.
Well, dude, mad respect though, because you served, and then you study medicine, and grew up able to get your kids in college too. Like, I got a lot of respect for that. That's it's the American dream, and it's not as easy as it should be. Not that it should be easy. Not as many people get that as we like, but I think everyone that does it, it's very impressive.
Well, to me, like, people ask, how the hell did you get out of that cycle? Because I have a violent streak in me. Like, I used to fight, and I'd go fight in tournaments. Here's $50. Let's go fight. Just get that out of my system. Military fulfilled that I'm a thrill seeker. I need something to feel. I got a cheap death to feel alive sometimes, skydiving. Love it.
Oh my God. I want to do it so badly.
Love it. It is the greatest rush.
Celebrate once he gets his shot. We're talking about doing that to celebrate.
Take $200, get a DVD, and just giggle because it's funny. It's hilarious, man. But so
I'll
for me,
out when I do it, but I can't wait.
It's awesome. It's a weird feeling to be like, I'm gonna jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I'm taking the most statistically likelihood of me dying is jumping.
Oh, man, you're gonna convince me out of this, but
it's less likely to die in an airplane than it is to jump out of a plane. You're more likely to die on the way to the airport to do it in a car crash, right?
Skydiving?
Then, yeah, statistically speaking, you're going to die in a car
crash. I thought you were saying it's the most likely way I can die. That's what I was trying to...
No, most likely is a car crash.
Yeah. Yeah, it just messes with your head because it's an insane thing to do. Like, you're going to jump out of a plane.
But it's awesome.
8,000 feet in the air, and like that's not what humans are meant for, but...
Right. But yes, I've always been like a thrill seeker, and so that fighting, I was a wrestler and a runner, and I was always competitive, but I was a knucklehead. I didn't have a dad. My mom was a fundamentalist, Pentecostal, like talking in tongues, don't cut your hair and wear dresses. And I was like, I ain't buying it, type of kid. So I was very rebellious. I came home drunk. I'm talking drunk at 14. Like, can't find my shoes drunk at 14 years old. And my mom turns, the only people I listen to is my coaches. So if it wasn't for my coaches, my teachers, and two of my buddies' dads taking enough interest in me, just enough to smack me in the back of the head once in a while, I was like, hey, what the hell are you doing? That's all it took for me. Like, you know what? And then my coaches knew what my motivation was: not be a loser and not live in a trailer park the rest of my life. Because I knew I was a loser. Look, we're in a trailer park. We're like, what the hell? Like, I considered that to be a loser because we had nothing. We've been, this is my claim to fame. We've been evicted from every house we ever lived in.
Wow. Ever.
When I was a kid. Never stayed anywhere more than 2 years, ever.
That must have hurt.
It's just, we didn't know. Oh, we're moving again. Oh. It's not like most people come up and they're like, okay, we've paid off our house. We're going to move to a bigger, we're going to sell and get a nicer place. No, it's like, hey, we got 30 days. Pack your shit. And then it goes into a storage facility. And of course, my mom didn't pay that bill either. And all that gets shit's thrown out. You wind up with nothing again. It's like you're always starting over with like a pair of shoes and 3 pairs of pants and a couple of t-shirts. Like you're constantly living out of a suitcase. And I was homeless in high school for about 6 months. I lived in I lived in a pop-up camper for about 6 months in my buddy Chris Hardy's driveway. I never forget that, man. I made a whole new set of friends. I was in a new neighborhood. And I just, I loved every minute of it. It's weird.
That's so funny.
It's a weird little adventure. We lived in a pop-up camper. We had one extension cord that we ran from my buddy's house from his garage outside. We just plugged in an extension cord, took it inside the camper, closed the door, and we plugged in a lamp we needed at night. We plugged in a TV. We was going to watch TV, and then we got smart. I got a splitter. I said, we can have more than 2 things on this. We're moving on up, baby. We got 3 outlets. We're doing all right. So that's how we came up, man. And then once I had a full ride for track and field. I was a state champ. Records. I was fast. I don't know if you're a runner, but I ran a 5K in 15 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yeah, man.
In high school. That's crazy. I can't do that on a 10-speed downhill now. That's crazy. But I ruined it because I blew my knee out on a trampoline. I wasn't the smartest 18-year-old kid. Yeah. So I made it to 2 weeks of college and it's over. Then I came home busted and disgusted, just crutches and an immobilizer. A year later, I had to figure things out. And I got to have a new way to not be a loser. I'm rapidly becoming a loser now. Again, I'm back. I'm like, uh-oh. So I said, okay, let me get to a tool and die apprentice. Let me go skilled trade. And they'll pay me while I go to college. Cool. I did that. And I got a second job doing plastic mold injection, like a temp job for 3 months. Car caught fire while I was driving it. A Mustang.
Dude, you can't catch a break.
I definitely couldn't catch a break. Doing all the right things. But then life comes and says, nut shot, man. And just hit me in the nuts, and I'm driving and all of a sudden my car is catching on fire while I'm driving it. And I pulled over. I took out my Dr. Pepper 2 liter and it didn't go out. I'm like, shit. And I grabbed my CDs because music was important to me. I ran back to the car, risked it all, thought I was going to explode, grabbed my CDs and just took off running in a very bad neighborhood at 2:30 at night, on my way home from work. I'm just running down the street and I go to a gas station. I was like, hey, can I use your phone, man? What are you doing here? I'm like, oh, God, you see that glow? That's my car, bro. But yeah, so then I had to quit my jobs. Then again, I'm unemployed and I'm a loser. I'm like, oh, hell no. So I said, that's it. The next day I borrowed a bike from a friend and I rode about, Hartford to Benton Harbor, about 12 miles. I rode my bike 12 miles to Benton Harbor and I went to the recruiter station. I was like, what's the first door? I just opened the door. Navy. Cool. I like water. Hey, man, how far away can I get and how soon can I leave? I just threw my chance to win. I was like, hey, Navy, cool. I can swim, And they said, we can have you in Guam by Christmas. I was like, sounds lovely.
Wow.
I had no idea where Guam was. All I knew is I wasn't going to be here. I didn't want to be the kid that was looked at with pity. Because I got the pity look when I was hurt and I didn't like that. Oh, hey, how you doing, boys? Are you okay? Oh, I'm like, bitch, I'm fine. Like, you never want to admit you're weak or you're hurt or you're injured, So I've always had this ego drive, but then I went in the military, man, and my life turned around and I got to reinvent myself, and the military was how I got out of poverty, It's good 4 years. Clinton's Navy, That's when first time I voted when I was in the military, absentee, for Bill Clinton. But it's just like life's a journey and you better buckle up and wear a helmet because it's bumpy sometimes, and you got to be ready for that curveball because it's coming. And I'm not saying to be paranoid, but just be fluid. Don't be comfortable. Yeah. And just don't be comfortable with life as it is, man. Just challenge yourself. So like when I get bored, I have to go find something to challenge myself or I'm bored. I don't thrive with boredom. I thrive in chaos. I've learned that through therapy. Like I thrive in chaos. That's where I feel comfortably at home is juggling things. And like I got 4 kids, a full-time job, and I do this shit all night. It's fucking 11 o'clock at night and I'm still doing, I don't give a shit, And I just kind of,
right.
What's that?
People don't realize, like, if you have something that's unconventional about you that can hurt you in certain situations, like often that very thing is a strength if you turn it around and you put yourself in positions that other people can't thrive in, but you uniquely can, right? Mm-hmm. Like thriving in chaos. Yeah, you get bored and you can't do the same thing forever. Well, that means like when there's a stressful situation or a new project, you're the person you want on there.
Yeah. Well, like about a month and a half ago, I finally got bit by a dog at my job.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised that didn't happen earlier with everything else. I mean,
honestly, yeah. I mean, I've been doing home care physical therapy for 15 years, and I've been bit by a cat once. I don't like cats, so I usually stay away from those. I don't like them, little devils, as far as I'm concerned. But a cat bit me on the pinky one time, and I had to get a tetanus shot and all that shit, and it wasn't good. But then this pit bull grabbed my thigh, and I pet this dog 100 times in the past. I pet him a bunch. Big old lug. It's a big, huge head. Lovely dog. I love pit bulls.
I like pit bulls too. He
just came up and just grabbed my leg and pulled. I'm like, hey, ow. And I didn't freak out. The guy's wife is hitting him in the head. I was like, hey, stop. His teeth is in my thigh meat. Hold up. I just pinched his nose. He couldn't breathe. He let go. I was like, stop it, you jerk.
Smart. That was very smart. Wow.
Well, that's how I got the toys away from my dog, because I had a pit bull. So he'd bite down on something, I'd pinch his nose, he'd let go, and say, knock it off. It's just experience.
Yeah.
And I didn't panic. It didn't hurt that bad. He just, when they bite you, they're not attacking. If they attacked me, I wouldn't have a leg.
See, that's what I was
surgery.
Yeah.
He just grabbed me. But enough. They have a bite force, man. So I felt them grab me and kind of go boom. One time I was like, shit. That's gonna leave a mark, you know. And then he let go and he tucked his tail and he's like, oh. And the lady's like, you're a bad boy. And he's like, ooh. And I was like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. I didn't realize my pants are torn open and I have 2 holes and it's dripping down my leg. I was like, now I got to go file paperwork. Great. You know, like, but I didn't panic.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I got bit. You know, that hurt. Yeah, it sucked. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I'm fine. I just got to go. I can't stay here. I got to go. Just next time, just put him in the bedroom. No big deal. And she's like, are you going to come back? I was like, I'll be back in 2 days. It's Tuesday. I'll be back on Thursday. Are you going to send someone else? Like, no, I'll be back. You know,
I'll give you a tip, man.
And then I just went to the hospital and they cleaned it up a little bit and took a picture of it and had to put on antibiotics, you know, whole protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And then my leg hurt, but I could still work. So I went and did my job next day. No big deal.
Wow.
But I had it felt like a carrot was under my skin. Just this little pool of blood, you know, from that hematoma, just bam. And so I had like a lump. It's still tender. Like if I push hard, it's still tender deep in there because it's a hematoma. But yeah, I came back 2 days later and I pet the dog. And she's like, you want to let him out? I was like, I want to let him out with that baby gate up though. I just want to see what he does. And she's like, aren't you scared? I was like, no, I'm apprehensive. So the first thing she let him out, I kneeled down, I put my hand out and put my head down. Submit. I let him come up. He sniffed my hand and I started petting him under his chin. I was like, there we go. We're okay. He's still skittish, but I was like, you're okay. Just move slow. I was like, I forgive you, buddy. Then I got up nice and slow and I walked away. I was like, just leave him in there. It's fine. But everybody else is like, hell no, man. Make that dog stay. I was like, the dog didn't do anything wrong. Something triggered him. I don't know. You know, like, so I expect that to happen eventually. And it finally did. I didn't take it personally, you know. And plus, I love dogs so much. I'm a big teddy bear when it comes to dogs, man.
I would love to have a dog one day. I think for now, the ideal is to have a next door neighbor that's like a good friend that has a dog, so I can be like a grandfather and skip the.
Yeah,
you know, I'm trying to enjoy the independence while I can, but
that's where I'm at. I'm almost empty nesting.
Yes.
Next year, my last 2 graduate high school and it's over. So I don't want another responsibility. I don't want another dog to feed. I want to do this full time in 2 years, and I can't do it with a dog. I don't even want a goldfish. Like, I don't want anything to depend on me.
Could be a co-host, you know.
What's that?
Could be your co-host.
The dog.
Yes,
entertaining. But yeah, that's like I'm looking forward to the next challenge. You know.
No, I'm with you.
Challenging to do all this shit is challenging to be consistent. That's a challenge to be consistent, to be disciplined.
Yes.
To say I'm going to do this no matter what, and to have a goal of going to New York in June. I can work towards that goal. Okay, after June, then what? You know, like.
So how'd you start it? Did you just have a YouTube channel and invited friends and eventually?
No, I was. So there's 3 people that inspired me to start my own podcast.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, The Thinking Atheist, and Sam Harris. Those are my 3 that I always went to. I was like, I like their content. I don't always agree with them, but I like the content, how they do it. And that's why I'm like the Walmart Joe Rogan, because that's kind of how I style my flow, is just conversational. You know, I could picture me and you and Joe Rogan's lair right now sitting across each other and just doing the same thing we're doing now, just in a different setting. But so those 3 people got me thinking. I was like, I like what they're saying, but I disagree. And I wish I had a voice to disagree with them with. And I was like, maybe I'll start a podcast, my own. Fuck it. I'm getting bored. So I didn't have the money to sitting around because I got 4 kids. I pay $1,000 a month in child support, brother. So it's not like sitting around waiting for me to find something to do with it, So I went and got a second job at a casino for 9 months. I worked 80 hours a week for 9 months, saved up $10,000. And I bought this MacBook Pro and lights and all this shit, paid cash. And me and my kids had one hell of a summer. When I was off, we was doing something, you know what I mean? Like we really had a great summer. And just did little things I wish, like everybody got a new pair of shoes one day. I literally went and bought nothing but shoes for everybody one day. Let's go to the running stores, have our feet fitted with a professional. And I found out I have a significantly high arch. I need a different insert. Then my back was better. I could stay standing longer. You know what I mean? A little healthy thing.
Yeah.
So all my kids got fitted properly and they're still growing, but I'm going to buy you all one pair of shoes. No one looks at a price tag. I said, but I won't go over don't think it's stupid, but get some comfortable shoes for outdoor activity, for running and whatnot. So I just went and dropped some money, but didn't do it often. When I did it was special, so I had that kind of 9 months, but don't forget I'm working 80 hours, like it was rough. But I saved up. So it gave me 9 months to have an identical pad of paper, just like this in my pocket at all times, writing down. Actually, I think I still have my original one here. Is this it? Yep. This is my very first notepad. This is when I worked at the casino, man. 2 years ago. I still got all my notes for my ideas. It's all filled up. They're all in here, man. So I would carry this in my back pocket. When I got bored, I would take my thing out and I would think of ideas, like, okay, what do I want to talk about? What should I be called? What's the logo? So it took me 9 months of thinking, taking my time. I'm not quick to act on stuff like that. So I really plan and plan and plan. I'm type A in that way. And so then I just got the ideas. Okay, I'm a skeptical person because I'm an atheist. I'm mindful because I went to 3 years of therapy. That's kind of who I am. That changed me. So that's what I am. I'm the mindful skeptic. So that's okay. Let me do this. And I just started interviewing people in person. And then I got a better setup so I could do remote. And that just kind of just flowed. And then I just stumbled upon Andrew Yang's campaign. That's it. I was researching all candidates.
So what made him your guy? Like what was
the fact? First and foremost, I didn't believe UBI was a good policy. I was very skeptical. I was like, give people $1,000. Okay. 2 lunches while we're at it. While I was like, okay. I was kind of dismissive. I was like, UBI. Anyway, but I like the fact that he said public option for Medicare for all. I like that. That makes more sense. I was like, and then I liked his humanity first, because I'm a humanist, and I was like, humanity first. That's cool. Then I started reading his policies. Like, holy shit, he's got a lot of policies. And so the week I was researching his stuff to make my video that week, then I found some of his interviews with Sam Harris. Sam Harris interviewed him before Joe Rogan. Sam Harris got him on Rogan. And so this is before his Joe Rogan podcast. So I did then I started learning more about UBI. Then I found Scott Santon's. I'm like, okay, I think this makes economic sense. Trickle up economics. That's why it's called the trickle up. I said that makes sense.
That's good branding. I heard that before. I just somehow never really thought about that. That is great branding.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Trickle up, baby. All good ideas and money should trickle up.
Yeah.
And that's why I just go to that phrase, man. So I got to thinking about that and I learned more. And I was like, you know what? Then I said, okay, that's a pretty cool platform. Then I looked at Bernie and I had problems with the single payer and he had no funding and the value added tax. The VAT also sold me that he had a funding mechanism for a program, which other people didn't really have it. Without, I'm just going to tax the rich, can be a billionaire, 90% or whatever it is, I believe they should be paying their fair share, But is a consumption tax makes more sense than just a flat tax because Amazon has a tax. They just don't pay it. You can make it 90%. They're just going to write it all off and pay zero again.
So you got to have a corporate minimum. That's my thing. That's, back when, before Republicans did their
based upon what? A percentage of their gross or the percent of their profits?
Your corporate tax rate, let's say. You shouldn't be able to go below 10. There should be a maximum write-offs you can do. At that point, you're done.
Just, set a parameter.
Yeah, set a floor.
Yeah.
Anyone would be paying less than 10% of your corporation. Like you can get write-offs to charity, write-off for solar power, whatever you're doing. Fine.
Yeah.
And if to decide those are good things.
Yeah.
To the point where it's just insane.
But Amazon paid zero.
They got money, man. They got money from the federal government from other write-offs, things like that.
Exactly.
Taxes. We gave them money.
And that's the thing. So Andrew Yang, way he framed it made sense. It's like, okay. Then I looked at Bernie, I looked at Elizabeth Warren, and then after Elizabeth Warren, I was like, I like her policies. I like some of her policies, but all she's really focused on is poo-pooing things and introducing ideas without a funding mechanism. Besides tax the wealthiest people, yada, yada, yada. I was like, they're going to write it off. They're going to dodge it. They always do. So I was like, okay, Andrew Yang's my gold standard now. I'm just going to go with him. Then I start looking more into it. Then I decided I'm going to dedicate my channel to, and I said, I'm going to do 100 policies in 100 days. He had 160 policies. I read them all.
Damn, respect.
And so I did one policy every day for 100 days in a row.
Wow.
And then I did 2 live streams. Where I just started reading them all. All the rest, just read them all in a row. I said, shit, okay, let's do another one. I said, I'm going to do this shit, damn it. And I read all of them. I wanted to be informed, you know. I'm an atheist, but I read the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah, you know. So audiobook. Yes. It took me like almost a year of audiobooks while I'm driving. I drive a lot for my work, so I listen to chapters as we go, you know. I didn't study it. I just read it, you know. And I've been fundamentally indoctrinated into the King James Version of the Bible, you know, with Christianity coming up. But I haven't been to church since I was 16 years old. I have no interest in going back. But like, I'm still want to be informed, you know. So
you're part of humanity. So
yeah, so that's kind of how I got to that point of, okay, now I actually had an interview set up with Andrew Yang way back when, and then he got the Rogan interview and they had the bail. And I never got a chance to get back with him again because he's off and running. But I got to meet him a bunch of times.
A big enough audience who doesn't have a choice.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Builds a big enough audience who doesn't have a choice.
Oh, I was happy to have him go to Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Because then it took off. And there was no Yang gang yet. I support Andrew Yang, and at that point, I was like, I'm voting for Yang. I was making content, and then people were like, hey, what up, Yang gang? I'm like, fuck is a Yang gang? I was like, what the hell is it? You know, I mean, I was like, what is that?
People love their rhymes and alliteration. And
yeah, man. I liked it. I was like, Yang gang.
Yeah.
All right. That's clever branding. I like it. That's cool. And then someone on Facebook I started getting friend requests from people, and all of them were following each other. And I saw all of them having Yang gang. I'm like, then one of them DM'd me, Tom Elkins. I'm never forgetting Tom. He reached out and said, hey brother, why aren't you in the Yang gang Facebook page? I'm like, I don't know what that is, man. I keep seeing this Yang gang. What's that? And he goes, we're the Yang gang. I'm like, okay, you got to help me out here. What's that? He's like, you're Yang gang. I'm like, okay. He goes, just come onto our Facebook page and you'll see what we're talking about. And then I got on, I was like, oh, it's a community. I get it. You know, like, so it just kind of got me going, man. I've covered nothing but politics since.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man. I wasn't, you know, even though I was doing this full time of trying to promote my website, I was doing a lot more on Facebook and ads. I wasn't on Twitter much, and so like the past few weeks, I made like a commitment. So I've had a lot of Yang following lately because of the
dude.
race.
You're gonna get a lot more now too. Trust me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've been about like, I can't even tell you how. Okay, hopefully none of my fewer, if there's any old listeners here, are insulted. But the Facebook comments, let's just say they were not the best. Oh. They'd always be like misspelled, like D Trump is the worst. He should go live in a lake, and then it'd have 10,000 likes. Not that many, but like 100. Or it'd be like, you know,
yeah,
well, all these libs are nuts, something. And I was like, this is what you got. Your guys' takeaway was from the article I posted. And like every person who I've talked to is like been asking like the most thoughtful, like detailed, like smart questions, or like, you know, their own insights into the race. It's like, wow, this is a smart crowd.
Yeah, we got some turds here and there. Every toilet bowl's got one, right? But it's, you know, you're gonna have fringe idiots. You just can't help it. No matter what you're doing, if you're picking apples, there's an idiot that don't know how to pick the apple right. You know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah,
just pure statistics. And then there's gonna be a genius out there that's gonna rock it. And that's what Andrew Yang is. He's like, hey, I'll show you guys the way. He's brilliant, you know. But yeah, like, so after all this shit, man, here we are. Andrew's running for mayor of New York City. I didn't like it. I was anti New York City mayor guy. I was like, He should stick with Humanity Forward and keep generating buzz and being like a lobbyist for UBI in Congress. He's got that lane. I think he can get a lot more done as a nonprofit getting universal basic income support in Congress than running for mayor of New York City. He can only help people in New York City. But then I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute. But if he does it well, that is a catapult to the national stage. I'm like,
yeah, Democrats are obsessed with experience on the national level. I don't think someone without experience, I'm not going to say never, but I think it's really hard.
It's a harder lane for him. I thought, okay, if he does this,
they're doubled if he wins the mayor race.
He's got a lane. And what I hope is, like he said himself, he goes, I hope I'm not, if I lose, the winner's going to sound a lot like me.
That's a good point. And that's why Joe Biden, you could argue that, Joe Biden won the election, but Elizabeth Warren probably won the marketplace of ideas of that election, because a lot of her ideas have been adopted by Joe Biden.
Well, but his economic,
not just her. There's lots of candidates.
Yeah.
Yang with UBI. Who saw Mitt Romney coming as the guy who was like, oh, let's do UBI. Here's our compromise to help ensure Americans are getting their checks.
Yeah.
I consider myself pretty good at seeing politics, like where things are going. If you offered me like 50-1 odds on that one, I probably would have taken it in the wrong.
Right. Mitt Romney, UBI, I don't think so.
And now it's like, okay, I could see it happening even if Yang isn't the guy with it.
Well, that's the thing. I think because of the pandemic, his ultimate plan is the most popular one to be adopted nationwide for response to the pandemic. That's what it comes down to.
Arguably, it's not the only thing, but it was one of the key things in Georgia.
They doubled down on it. Let me tell you, even Biden did, and he's a lying son of a bitch. While we're at it, you put them in office, I'll put $2,000 checks out. Well, Trump put 600. I'll put 400, 1,400. And now the next package is coming out. Like, okay, we're gonna do 1,400 again. Bitch, you said 2,000. You wrote a check, man.
Listen, I'm gonna push back a little on here, because this was still one of the biggest bills in terms of providing aid since LBJ. So I understand it's not all the way, but
he wrote a check.
Tax credit, which is almost like UBI, but targeted.
I like that better, actually.
And that is supposed to cut childhood poverty by 40%. Can you imagine that? One bill. If you get that done every year, which is also, by the way, why Democrats white men in the Senate. It's going to be really tough. It's really hard to win in a midterm if you're the party in the White House. Yep. But if that becomes the defining issue, Democrats renew it, and they can't get the 60 votes to get it permanent. And they're going to say, which will be true, Republicans are going to take this away. You elect us, we're going to get another 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then Republicans will probably vote first. They don't lose another election because of it.
That's why I do see that as a very likely outcome. Because once people get those checks in July 1st, those checks are going out.
July 1st.
July 1st.
I mean, I'm just when you were telling a story about your mom, I was just literally thinking, like, my God, what that would have meant to your family to have that.
If my mom would have had, would it be $900 a month? Or no, it'd been $750 because we're all over older when we got older. But still, back then, or even if it's right now, man, I got 4 kids. Well, 2 of them are 18, so I have 2 that are under 18. So I would get half, and my ex-wife get the other half, right? So it's still $300. I'd give it right to the kid. Put it in a savings account, buy you a car. That's gonna buy a car.
Yeah.
Shit. Book for college, whatever. Fundamentally investing in your children. I think especially if you have daycare. The thing is, daycare is horrendous. I've paid for daycare, buddy. Let me tell you, it's a budget buster. And if you got that extra money coming in, one of you people could stay home. Mom or dad don't give a shit. 2 moms, 2 dads, I still don't give a shit. Someone can stay home and take care of themselves. You can afford it. And it's economically viable. Instead of giving that money to a daycare center, it's the same money. Just stay home. I would love to have been a stay-home dad, period. I would have loved it.
I even think about my mom, right? Like she didn't have as much struggles as you had economically, but she still grew up below the poverty line, single parent household, five kids. And she was working from when she was 14, and because they didn't have the money, which I don't actually think was legal, but saying that I think the limit has long gone past, because that was like 40 years ago 50 years ago. So
yeah.
Even though I'm saying
my first job was 12. I was 12 years old, busting tables and washing dishes at a restaurant my mom was working at.
Yeah, that's 12. What she was doing too, basically.
Yep.
And
rode my bike to work.
It would have just made everything so much easier.
Yep. Yeah. So that to me, okay. So that's a form of universal basic. No, it's not universal. It's a basic income for parents that are under $75,000 an individual, 150 as a family.
Yeah.
So
it's a bird of a different feather. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in the same spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and it's helping the most vulnerable and helping kids.
Yep. And that
every kid deserves like a fair shot, right? And it's not like you're going to solve that in one stroke, right? But like you can give
a damn good start. It's a damn good start.
And it's like if you look at affordable housing, which by the way, this problem helps solve everything, including helps. I don't mean like gets rid of it, solve, but like makes it better with affordable housing too. But like if you look at affordable housing, if someone has like a program like that, right, same income, their chances of their kids going to high school, finishing high school, skyrocket. Their chances of their kid graduating skyrocket. Suicide rates plummet. It's like,
well, think about this. Let's put myself back in the time machine. I'm divorced with 4 kids. When I got divorced, my kids were, let me think, Caleb was what, a freshman in high school, sophomore. So he'd be sophomore, 15? So 15, 14, 13, 12. They're all 1 year apart. 4 times 250. That's $1,000 a month back in my pocket. I'd have a bigger house. I'm a minimalist, so like I don't want a bigger house, but I could have at least, I'm such a minimalist. I won't spend it like on anything stupid, but it took me a while to buy this computer, man. I had the cash just sitting there. I needed it eventually. And I even passed up on a good deal. I should have just bought that last month. But I went and got this damn MacBook Pro, brand new, $1,200, cash. And I remember standing there with my debit card at Best Buy. I slid it in the machine. I put in my numbers. And she's like, I just looked at the price. I'm like, and she's like, you got to hit the green button. I was like, I know. Hold on. I'm getting a stomach ache. I'm like, oh.
I've had that experience where it's just like, I've had that experience with much smaller things where it's like, oh, these groceries cost more than I thought. And you're just, when you're waiting at the button, you're like,
yeah, but
get back out.
1,300 and some change, man.
It wasn't that much. I'm probably talking about situations where it's 100 or something.
Right. I mean, I get pissed about that too, but this is a huge hit.
That's a huge hit.
I worked 9 months. Here's the cash. I know I need this thing. I know it's a necessary thing for me to buy. It's an investment. It's not a plaything. This is something I want to do something with, but still it made my stomach hurt. And I stood there at Best Buy at that counter for I'd say at least 60 seconds. It's a long 60 seconds too. And the lady's like, are you going to hit them? I was like, man, I took out my phone. I opened up my bank account. I looked at it. I'm like, minus 1,385. Beep. And she's like, congratulations, you're the owner of a MacBook Pro. I'm like, I didn't take it out of the box for 3 days. Just in case I decide to change, I can take it back. I'm such a cheap bastard. I'm a minimalist. Like, I have nothing hanging on my walls, dude. This is a green screen, it's a piece of felt for $5 at a fabric store. I have one thing I'll show you. These are my box lights, but that's the only thing hanging on my wall is a whiteboard with my schedule for my podcast. That's it. Nothing else is on my wall. I don't do picture frames, knickknacks and shelves and shit. I had a girlfriend a while back. She's like, why don't you have any pictures of your kids on the wall? I was like, well, who are those for? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, if I put pictures on a wall, who are they for? And she goes, for everybody looking. I was like, who's everybody? I was like, you're the first person that's not my kids to be here in like a year. And I was like, and so it's just me. I don't need to look at the pictures. They're right there in high definition. I was like, I don't need a picture. It's just a waste of resources to me.
Yeah.
And a phone.
I'm pretty minimalist in my decorations. So they're not near me here, but the 2 things that like I love to have decorations are, because every time I look at them, they just make me happy. One of them, my dad got me because we went to Derek, huge Yankee fan. Sounds like you're a Tigers fan. I think anyone
I'm from Michigan, from where Derek Jeter's from, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Kalamazoo, awesome.
Kalamazoo Central.
So this was Jeter's 3,000th hit, and we got lucky. Bought this way before he was close. Like I had a final. I think I had my final in high school or something, so I was late to the game and miserable about being late because I'm never late to any games, but I had no choice this time.
Yeah,
something like that, right? And you could hear. So I missed the first inning. And we were coming up like from the train station because
he's a second batter too. Yeah, you missed it.
Yeah. And the stadium was just going crazy like it was a playoff game because he had his first hit, and he needed 5 hits to get it. So there was like no way he was going to get it there, right? Even though we were like hoping marked it in our calendar, he got a day off the day before, and I was like, oh man, he's done. There's no way he's going to be 5 for 5 or 6 or whatever. And gets 5 hits. The last one's on a home run. I think it's a game winner, and it's just a crazy game, like the go-ahead homer.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so my dad got me this was when I went to college, like the year after when I was going, he got me like the newspaper from, I think it was Daily News. They had a great headline and front page, right? And then like the 2 tickets and on behind glass, right? And so everywhere. And the other thing, again, I know I'm beating a dead horse because I mentioned it 5 times, but man, I love Obama.
Yeah.
Mom got me the day President Obama won, or was inaugurated. No, it was the day he won, New York Times front cover. And it's just like beautiful to read because there's all these interviews in this one article of civil rights activists who just never thought this day would come. They died some of them died just to get the right to vote. And seeing him, and I don't know, every time I see it, it just like reminds me, especially in the Trump era, right? Like there's things to fight for and things to hope for. Things can get better.
Yeah, man. I wasn't a fan of every decision he makes, which I'm never a fan of every president ever. You're never going to, they all make mistakes.
Even Yang's going to bum you out sometimes if he ends up being president.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't agree with all 160 policies. I don't agree with all of them. And I'm very vocal about that shit. I'm like, these ones right here, I don't like that. That don't make any sense. I need more data. That don't add up, But no one's perfect. But damn it, Obama, he really, really represented this country well, as far as his speech, his presence. The biggest scandal he had was a brown suit, man. Kiss my ass. You got to be kidding me. A tan suit? That's not a president. Tucker.
I know. The moral leadership was the thing. I think he's one. I don't know if you get better on that point in terms of speaking to the better angels of the country, being a great father. And that's what I love about him because, like, most presidents are terrible fathers, even if they're great presidents. LBJ was awful around his kid because they have terrible parents themselves. His mom was right. His dad, totally absent again. Always had the absent parents.
Look at Kennedy's. Their dad was a modern-day drug dealer.
Yeah. And he was also crazy and, like, decided each of them were going to run for president, and then his brother, JFK's older brother, died, so that's why he became the one. But that's that insane expectation and pressure. FDR's mom was like that, and so he decided, like, I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to do better. I'm going to work my butt off, even though I don't have an example. And every day sent, even though it's the White House, unless they had to be there for national security reasons, like sent people that were working there that were parents home so they could be there with their kids. Never missed dinner with his kids unless he had to be abroad or had an emergency. Like, it's kind of sweet. Right. Decent, fundamental, good guy. It's good to see.
Something I really looked up to him for was the fatherly, because I didn't grow up with a dad either, and I'm trying to be a role model for my kids type of thing. And I totally appreciated that in the moment, especially the ages they were was very vulnerable. And he kept them out of the public eye as much as he could and kept them humble, which I just think he's done a damn good job, man. And it's a hell of an act to follow up.
Yeah, like I was saying before, kind of, right? Like, both my parents had single parent mothers, and so they both worked so hard to be good parents, and I'm lucky they were there for me, right? So I always just have so much admiration, for yourself as well in this, for President Obama, for anyone that decides they're going to do better, they're going to learn how to do this right, by what they didn't have. Yeah, we can all be critical of their decisions, this and that, whatever, but as a human being, he's a damn good, decent human being.
And he supports the idea of universal basic income now.
Oh, really? I missed that.
He made a speech at a graduate. What was that at? He was he's on some kind of a stage, and he's like, we need to look into adopting the idea of a universal basic income. That was like maybe a year ago, a little over a year ago. And then we were like, he was supposed to meet with Andrew Yang was supposed to meet with him. We're like, I wonder if he's going to endorse Andrew. He didn't endorse Joe by now. Why the hell is he endorsing Joe? What's wrong with Joe? Like, what's so bad about Joe that Obama wouldn't endorse him? I was like, huh.
It's a democracy thing because he knows the race would be over the day he endorsed anyone. He doesn't want to take away the process.
Well, my thing was, I was really suspicious of why didn't Joe run when he was coming out of vice president.
I can tell you why.
I'd love to hear it.
It's his son, man. He was
going through his stuff.
Yeah, I was actually interning in the White House around that time, and it was just that's why he didn't run for president.
Is it?
He was deciding, Bo.
Yeah.
This was the day he decided he wasn't going to run. I know this because I was working in the Department of Scheduling in advance for President Obama's schedule, and Obama was supposed to go to New York that day to see Hamilton. And it was like a DNC fundraiser, but he saw it once and he was like so excited to see. Not that he was talking to me about this. Trust me, I wasn't like I was an intern, but I secondhand heard. And it got all of a sudden there was someone on the vice president's staff that was stopping by to like shoot the breeze with my boss for a second. And he's like, "Oh my God, I have to go. The vice president's in the Rose Garden." And then like 5 minutes later, we're here on CNN. Like the vice president's about to give a speech, and President Obama, like we knew we're canceling plans made to. People in our office were figuring stuff out on that. And it was because Joe decided that day he wasn't going to run. And the reason he wasn't going to run for president was even though he had a vision and his whole speech that day was basically like as if it was a campaign launch, but it wasn't because it was what he wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
He just couldn't handle it. It was overwhelming and he was doing everything he could to be vice president, be active. But the pressure of that is just too fucking much for someone to go through, I think.
Well, and if his kid's struggling with drugs and stuff, that's...
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, his son just died. He already went through that once.
That and his other son with the drug problems, you know what I mean? So
yeah, you don't want to bring down the limelight.
A lot of instability.
So he was ready to run. He felt really guilty for not running because he thinks it was his fault and that he would have won the primary and beat Trump.
I don't know if anybody's going to beat Trump.
In 2016?
Mm-hmm. He just came out of nowhere, man.
He barely won, so maybe.
I know, but...
I'm not saying for sure, but maybe. It didn't take much. You just do have to be better.
He lost the popular vote, still won the damn electoral,
Like, if you had someone that did really well in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, like you had someone that just was a killer for the Midwest.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? Maybe that was just going to happen no matter what. I don't know.
Yeah,
you got no redos in history, right?
No, you do not. Who is this? Please slice me. Hey, boys. Who are you? What's your name? Who are you? I don't know you by please slice me.
Even though you didn't say it to me, please slice me. Good to see you too.
Yeah, man. It's just wild though to look back at stuff and I still see Obama's picture everywhere I go because I go into people's homes and I see what matters to them on their walls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I go into homes and I see Obama stuff. I'm like, that's nice to see. I can be okay. Like there's other places I do and it's not.
Yeah.
And Southwest Michigan is very, very conservative. I went to some houses. I'm like, holy shit. One guy had a QAnon flag outside. I was like, oh no.
Okay, that's a little.
I took a picture.
That's like a warning. Like
I took a picture.
I feel that way about Trump. But like, if you're QAnon, it's like I don't really trust you to be around me.
Well, how can I tell them anything logical about therapy? Will they believe me? Do they think I'm part of the, you're part of the pedophile cannibals, or whatever? My big thing is, Anne from Detroit, the photographer with Mark Clockout. Yes. Okay, Annie. Okay, I remember you. Yes. I didn't know you were as please slice me on here, though. That's different. I will not. But yeah, so I go into some homes, and I see this QAnon shit. I'm like, and it's for me, you step into a house, your first impression means a lot. I go in and I see Fox News, or they have OAN going on their cell phone, literally. OAN. I walk in, I sit down, and I just happen to see over their shoulder OAN. I'm like, okay, no small talk here, no chit chat, no nothing. I'm not gonna
drive me nuts. And Fox on the late night host do because it's okay to be biased. I don't have a problem with there being a Republican.
Yeah, I'm very clear about I'm biased to Andrew Yang. I'm biased to progressives. Period.
You're going to tell people information as a journalist. And you are a journalist if you have the cryon and you have the desk, because everyone watching you thinks you're a journalist, even if you call yourself an opinion. They look at you for facts. Tell your people the facts. You get it wrong sometimes, that happens. But don't explicitly lie to them every time, 5 times a night. Just give people the facts so they can make their own decisions.
Well, it's funny. I saw a video where this guy was kind of making fun of these trolling people. And he's like, how dumb are you Trump supporters? Even Fox News themselves were being sued for defamation and liable for the Dominion voting system of $1 billion. And they said in court, we are clearly an opinion place. We're not facts. You have to be an idiot to think these are facts.
But I don't think you have to be an idiot to think they're facts. I think people.
No, that's what they said. That's what they said in court.
I know they said that in court, but I think that it was a terrible decision, because I think people reasonably can watch a news channel and think that they're not getting lied to.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, they portray themselves as actual journalists. They even use that term.
Out of the courts.
They should have some. They'll say CNN has no journalistic integrity. Here at Fox, we do. Well, who is the journalist in Fox? Because I don't get it.
Chris Wallace is great. They have some people in the daytime, but that's not what people watch. That's not the viewership. That's like 90% is those 3 guys at night. It's Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Lauren Ingraham. Mm-hmm. And every day, it's not just why you shouldn't like Biden, which fine, that's okay. It might not be how I feel, but free country, express your beliefs. But it's also like why these people are your enemy. Why your fellow Americans are the enemy. That's not okay.
Yep.
That's the line we can't cross in journalism.
Yeah. Anti-democratic, radical left socialists. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the most radical socialists. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Kamala Harris is a cop. Okay, let's be real. She's a prosecutor. She has a lot of baggage associated with that whole thing. So to say that she's a radical leftist.
I'm going to give some credit to Kamala. There was some actual pretty big reform done as an attorney general in California.
Yeah.
You can argue she should have done more, but given that we were in the middle of war and crime, she was like the first Black woman to be attorney general statewide. Like, there were some real reductions in marijuana prosecutions. People say she did some, but you got to realize, you got to look at before and after. And when someone cuts it like 80%, I think that's still a move forward.
Well,
but it's a much more complicated record than it's given credit.
Well, I think the problem is for her is optics.
Absolutely. And I didn't learn this. I was trying to write an article about her, and I was like, I got to make sure I get all my facts straight. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a complicated picture.
The thing is what hurt her, for me personally, is her laughing about smoking marijuana in college while she's prosecuting people.
I think that's a fair thing.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, the optics is horrible, and it makes me stand back and be like, do as I say, not as I do. I'm already suspicious of you. I'm turning the page, kind of thing.
Well, there's a lot of things like her, but I'll say this, right? Eric Holder, Attorney General under Obama, he was trying to end the war on crime, like made massive reforms, and he was ahead of where she was in California. So that's a knock against her. But nonetheless, I think my timeline is right there. Yeah, I mean, I think that people can grow on this issue.
Well, everyone can grow. That's for damn sure. And if you're in politics long enough, you've done something stupid that you regret later. That's all. It's the way it is. But yeah, like I said, it's the optics of it's an easy talking point to say, here she is joking about smoke. You know what I mean? Like, they all have, the longer you're in, the more shit they got on you. Just like they'll use this thing out of context with Andrew, that comedians like, you put the Timbs on, the Timbs off, Andrew. He's like, what? Tim's like, Timberland, your boots. When you're having sex with a woman, or bitches, as he said, he's like, when you fucking bitches, do you leave your Timbs on? And he's like, it's between you and your partner. And he's left it at that. And the guy is like, what did he say? The thing that everybody's
something about choking. I haven't got a chance to watch
it. Yeah, he goes, Andrew, you choke bitches, and Andrew just laughed. He's like, we're out of here. But they cut it at that point, and he's laughing and kind of turns his head and does this thing. Like, he's like, I got to get out of here. This is not good. But like, he was talking about consensual sex. Then a guy says, do you choke? You like choking bitches during sex, not just walking up to strangers and choking them, not assaulting people. But that's what, again, there's a talking point that can be easily used to dissuade voters in New York right now. And they are. Maya Wiley is doubling down on that big time.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm not saying it's fair, but
That's what I'm saying. It's part of the game.
When you're number one, you
Yeah.
best not miss, I guess, right?
You gotta avoid the shit out of those situations. It's a learning curve for him right there. He learned a valuable lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's in a different position. What he had to do earlier in his career was harder, which is go from 0 name recognition to, I know 3% doesn't sound like a lot, or 4%, but that's a lot when you're out performing like 10 other people.
Well, yeah, 0 to 1% was a miracle to get him on the stage.
Yeah, and sticking around 4% or so, and it's his high favorability, right? Like, made a lot of good impression he made a good impression on me, even though I wasn't going to vote for him because I needed experience.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, guys, but for me, that's my thing.
That's what I said. That's his number one weakness.
It was, yeah. Just because I got to show you got to show me you can handle it first, and if you do a great job, I'm in there. But it's not that I need you to have a resume as long as guidance. But
and you've had a different experience too. You were in there, and you know what some of that looks like.
So that's exactly a big part of it, right? Like, this is part of the reason why Biden's done so well, because he had he had the worst transition in history. Like, literally, no one was there to meet with any of his staff, and then they tried to destroy the democracy. And then he sent his own staff. He sent all the White House, like butlers and things like that, home the day Biden was supposed to go in there. So the doors were locked when Biden tried to go in, and no one was there to greet him. And he was just, when he's standing out there hugging his wife outside the White House, that was not planned. That was because the doors were locked and they had to get to open it.
How fucking petty.
Oh my God, I know.
And
so every president has a huge fuck up in the first year in a big foreign policy moment. And I was kind of like, man, like, Joe Biden has a chance, given all the crises this is even before all the current stuff, but just the post-Trump world, to like hit the ground running, take advantage of the momentum, because he'll be the most prepared vice president in history. The only one I can think of that didn't have a fuck up was HW when he was VP and director of CIA. Like, even JFK, he had the Bay of Pigs, which was like a colossal mistake, right?
Yeah. Something that got his ass killed.
Bill Clinton had Somalia.
Bill Clinton, man, what a character.
So that was my hesitation. I think you can adapt to the job if you're really talented.
Mm-hmm.
It's what held me back on Pete, who I always liked too a lot. It's just like being ready to go has its value.
Well, the thing with Pete is I live 45 minutes from him.
Oh, yeah?
He is not popular in South Bend.
Really?
Like, he admitted himself, I failed as a mayor.
On the police thing.
Well, the police and the homelessness.
Yeah.
He ordered the police chief to go out there because somebody's coming, a visitor, and they took the homeless encampment and just took all their shit and threw it away.
I didn't hear that before.
They said, get the fuck out of here. It's not a good look. And I was like, because I have some friends. I went to college in South Bend too. So I was just like, that whole place is gone. Like, yeah, they just picked their shit up and threw them away and said, if you don't leave, you're getting arrested for trespassing.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, that's ugly. But, you had the police thing, and, the community really didn't, the poor people in that community didn't trust him, and he says he failed. But I will also give him, again, I always try to give credit where credit's due. He's the first openly gay person to run and win in the most conservative freaking area of Indiana, where Mike Pence came from. This is conservative. So I'll give him credit for that. 1. 2, he somehow, I don't know how he did it. He's got to be savvy to get the state of Indiana to be okay with having its first casino in South Bend.
I didn't know that. Wow, I missed that one. Yeah.
South Bend has a thing called Four Winds. And so the people I went to school with, the Pokagans, they got Bill Clinton in 1993 gave them, they recognized their tribe as a sovereign nation. So they opened up a casino in New Buffalo, Michigan, which is about an hour away from Chicago, across the border in Michigan. And then they opened one in Dowagiac, Michigan, and Hartford, Michigan, my hometown. And then they put one in South Bend, Indiana. It's the first casino in the whole state. And somehow he got them to let him get a win by putting it in his town, with Mike Pence there as the governor.
One of my biggest ones too.
Dumbfounded by that. I was like, how the hell did he pull that off?
South Bend was the first place in the country to have the system of IDs for undocumented immigrants. So, which I know everyone's on board with. I am. And so, like, without that, right, you can't get health insurance. You can't open up a bank account. You can't pay taxes. You can't do all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, But you couldn't do that in Indiana because Mike Pence is sure as hell not going to provide state IDs for people there, right? So that's why he's the first to have done this program. It's how you deal with Republican government. He got a charity to pay for the creation of the IDs. And then he brought along all the small businesses, brought along the police department, brought along the schools.
Got their supporters to endorse it.
To make it happen, to make sure everyone was accepting it. So it was actually one of the best programs for undocumented immigrants in the country. And it helped increase revenue. It reduced crime. It improved relationships, right? Because you're taking people out of the shadows. If they're going to be there, right? They should be, paying their fair share and getting some of the kitchen.
Pete lives about 45 minutes from me, man.
Yeah.
That's
But he was pretty raw. I like his ideas. I like his communication skills, but he was pretty raw.
Well, again, to me, he's a mixture of Biden and Obama. Like, I don't know. Like, that's his speech was directly a mimic of Obama. I was like, oh, that's Obama's speech. I see. Okay, I got you, Petey. I see what you're doing there, buddy. I like your cadence and the way you say things is very predictable, and I like the rhythm. Like that's da 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 da. It's just like Denzel Washington. Like just you recognizable speech pattern. Ha ha ha, my guy. So Pete was good at that. I considered him like almost like a mimic, where he was really good at doing the best he could. Like, okay, I've heard this helps. I'll try it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a hustler, man.
And you know what I also love? Like, he could understand, like, American politics is so siloed that Democrats don't understand Republicans, Republicans don't understand Democrats. And that's just not voters. It's also politicians sometimes. Mm-hmm. Pete can speak to Republican values in a way that were like common American values and speak about a Democrat idea in their language. And so freedom is something Democrats don't talk nearly as much about. I think it's part of the reason why this election was so close, because a lot of people were feeling if all these corona restrictions, like restrictions on their freedom, Republicans talked to it. Trump often did with a lot of dishonesty mixed in there and hyperbole, but he was speaking to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's part of the reason why he did so well with people that escaped South America to avoid restrictive tyrannical governments. And,
I think that's why Andrew Yang had a supporting of conservatives too.
I think so too. I think they're the two who are
the freedom dividend.
That's a good point. I never even thought
the public option.
So people do this thing where he'd be like saying like, government can restrict your freedom, right? But there's other things that will make you free too. Like if you can't afford health insurance, that limits your freedom too.
Your economic freedoms, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that whole pitch of a way like, let's speak to this thing that we're never talking about, but our policies actually do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both the two who have unconventional ways to connect with Republican audiences. We didn't see the polling for
Bernie too
as much.
Bernie had 10%. I think that's more revolutionary, like speaking. Like he wanted the people that voted for Bernie and would also vote for Trump were just agents of chaos. Like
I think in 2016, those voters were up for grabs. I don't think the Bernie Trump voters were up for grabs in 2020. And I could be wrong.
No. Those, either you're with Trump as a white nationalist chaos agent that liked the fact of being nationalistic and exclusionary, you know what I mean? And then there's the other people that's like, hey, we're going to go back over here, and they became whatever they become, go back to Bernie or something. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I was just like, because Bernie and Andrew both had 10%, conservatives found them favorable, and then Pete had like 6, I think. He had some conversion as well.
Yeah, I mean
Tulsi.
Yeah, God, I was not a fan of her, but
I was, but then her last hoorah really pissed me off in her Senate when she put that anti-transphobic bill out. I'm like, really?
She just had a weird thing about her where it was like anytime human rights in foreign policy came up, she just came off as like, I don't care about this at all. It's not that I'm saying the military should be everywhere. It's like we should still, with soft power, right? Like non-military force, do what we can to help democracy, soft power. And she's like, I don't care about this at all. And so when Trump pulled out of Syria in a way that like left the Kurds, our allies who fought on the front lines to fight ISIS, literally preventing a genocide of a group called
exactly.
Right? Like they put, and then Erdogan, who wants, I know I'm getting in the weeds here in foreign policy, but like the leader of Turkey, a lot of tensions with the Kurds. They're on the border in Syria. you know, he wants to wipe him out. And we're like, okay. Trump calls him. He calls Trump, says move. He's like, okay, we're going to leave without any warning in one day. Literally Russian soldiers and Turkish soldiers and everyone coming into our bases before we're even out of there. And then killing this group in mass atrocities where it's like, these guys sacrificed everything for us, and now we're just going to let them die. We're not going to give them time to evacuate. They've been there for hundreds of years. Literal human trafficking supported by the U.S. and negligence in this case. And Tulsi's like, no, it's totally justified. And I am like, what the fuck? This was the most sociopathic thing America has done in my lifetime, leaving our allies to death, and you're okay with it? That was when she was dead to me.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I had a problem with that. And first of all, if you're gonna leave, you gotta leave. You gotta do it with your NATO partners. He didn't announce it to no one. No one knew. They were totally naked, totally exposed. Yeah,
totally exposed,
and just didn't tell them, like, we're out. Kick rocks and blow bubbles, guys.
Thanks for dying to stop a genocide. Now you're on your own.
Yeah, now you're gonna be genocided out. That's right. Yeah, it's. There's so many layers, and that's why. And I'll honestly say foreign policy is my weakness because I have never had an interest in it. I don't like genocide. That's a damn good start. You know, like that's a damn good. I'm a humanist.
One quick description on this one. So it wasn't genocide in the case of them. It's called human trafficking, which is different because human trafficking means forcing people to move from a place where they live. So like mass, like that's still terrible because it can be like an ethnic group that's targeted to force to move.
It's like the Trail of Tears, you know.
So it's not like the Kurds were put near elimination as a group, but it's still like one of the worst human rights crimes you can ever commit.
Yeah, but they were at their mercy as well. They could have executed them if they wanted to. There's nothing.
Yeah, it'd be like forcing Americans into Mexico or like an entire ethnicity, a country you've never been where you don't speak the language, and just saying like, now you're on your own, you have no homes.
Well, it's to me, like I said, it's like a repeat of the Trail of Tears just in the Middle East.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, go that way. We'll tell you when to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, same thing with the Jews, same thing with the Kurds, same thing with, what was it, in Croatia, you had, that's why I was in the military. Croatia, you had, was that the Kurds too?
I don't think so, but
Croatia.
Serbia?
Okay, Serbia. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Serbia. Yep. Serbia is one, but we got deployed to Croatia once. I think it's because a dictator was running, and we were there, the NATO forces, to make sure they didn't leave the port. So we're sitting there with our cannons pointing at their, like we were literally waiting for the order to bomb the shit out of their shorelines and send the Marines in. And here I am just sitting on a watch going, are we going to light this bitch up for real? I was like,
have to, man.
They're like, put on your hearing protection. I was like, oh, we're going live. Okay.
Wow.
Put on your hearing protection, put on your second, because you had to have the hearing protection, then a double hearing protection, because we had a 7.62 millimeter cannon. Well, the shells were about, I'd say about 3 feet long without the metal in it. Like the casing is this long, and then the bullet, you know, as big as I'd say big as like a dinner table, man. These huge bullets, man. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It was loud.
See,
you felt the percussions, you know. I love that feeling. That was pretty cool. But we're all pointing our guns at a country's shores. And I'm like,
oh my God, that would have been horrifying.
You know, we're all lined up just in case. We're just sitting there. And I'm just on watch. I'm like, huh. You know, we had the whole briefing and stuff like, you know, just in case we're pointing, you know, makes a run for it. We're going to tell him you can't go here. If it keeps coming, we have to shoot. I'm like, huh. This shit's about to get live. Oh, well, okay. And I'm 19, 20 at the oldest. And I might have been 20 by then, 20 or 21 by then. I think I was 20, so I wasn't deployed. This is my first deployment. So, yeah, but still, I wasn't 21. I've been in there for like a year and a half. You know, the most excitement we had was we chased some drug smugglers in a cigar boat, and they threw 30-something bales of cocaine over the side, and we had to try and catch them and recover it. We only recovered 3 because they had a trail boat behind us they didn't know about, and they were picking up the bales they threw out.
Oh, I was gonna wonder, like, what happens if you don't? Okay.
Yeah, they throw the shit out, and then they ran their ship ashore into an island. And we're a warship. We can go so shallow. And we can't enter their property because that's a foreign. We don't have authorization. So they crash their boat and they take off running into the woods like it's fucking Life of Pi and shit, you know? But then behind us is another boat that we didn't know. It's over the horizon. It's too far away. They're going like 30 knots, man, hauling ass. And so then that boat came up behind them as they're throwing them. Like I was a part of the navigation team, so as they're throwing them, we're like mark 90 degrees, mark 90 degrees, mark. And every time they threw one, they'd mark it on the calendar or on the map. And they'd measure map to go back to it, and they're all gone. We got 3. The last 3 we got. The rest of them, they got them. That's the most excitement. Just chasing people. I had to do like a boarding party. I had to board people's ships, like fully loaded, and enter their ship.
That must have been
aggressively. And here you on the boat, like, okay, guys, who's going up first? Shit. And you gotta be the first one to climb their little rope ladder and stick your head up. You know, be like, hey, back up. You got your piece. So you had to get your pistol out and point it at them. Like, back up 10 feet. Back. You know, again, 20. I got a gun on me, and I'm just back up 10 feet. Okay, good. Sit up. And I throw my leg over the side. I sit on the side. All right, guys, come on up. How you guys doing, man? Take it easy. You know, no big deal. And we had to do that. Was the most exciting we had. That was pretty cool. I liked it, though. But then to go over there in Croatia, we're sitting off the shore. We're supposed to be in Italy. It's keep going north, guys. We got another assignment for you. I don't remember what the hell. I think it's something with a dictator there was getting ready to leave, or you know, some kind of a crime. But
it's crazy how, like, man, because I'm only looking at it from like general or like the president perspective when I'm like studying foreign policy and stuff, right? And like you're telling all these 19, 20-year-olds, you know, who are either risking their life or like gotta deal with the moral issue. Like if you had a fire in that city, like that stuff could have haunted you for a long time.
Well, same thing boarding a ship, man.
Yeah.
What if shit got sideways?
You know, even if you're okay, it stays with you.
And you gotta shoot people, a stranger.
Yeah. It's like one of the tragedies of war that suffer the pain are not the ones who make the decisions.
We had 4 people die on our ship. Not on my ship, I'm sorry. 4 people die in our carrier group. But on our ship specifically, we had 4 people die on a helicopter crash in the middle of the Atlantic.
Oh.
And they're still down there. You know, there's no way to recover them. But this one kid had just had his 21st birthday party on the base, and we got deployed. We were out for maybe like a month. So we had crossed. That took like 2 weeks. We did some operations with NATO forces. We came back over here. We went a little farther north, did some shit up there, and we was over there for like 3 months, you know. And we had rough seas, and the ship's like pitching and rolling and yawing. So you have the green, yellow, and red lights on the flight deck, and you're trying to land a helicopter. You only got so much fuel, and the seas weren't supposed to be that bad, and it shifted, and it got worse. And we're talking 30-foot swells, man. He's fucking ridiculous. And we're not a frigate, a small ship. So here comes this helicopter, and they came to land. They said, nope, red light, circle. So they started circling us, right? So they're turning left for a while. What happens is that downforce shifts your inner ear's equilibrium. Now this is down. And now it doesn't, because the ship's all funky and you're just turning left. And they're turning left for a while. And then they said, okay, green light, come on in. And then when it turned left, he turned it upside down. Oh. And he almost hit our ship, man. I think if I was to guess right now, I think, you know, memory's not perfect, but it's close enough. I could have probably thrown a baseball. Like, it was close.
If they hit your ship, they would have.
Yeah, it was upside down. You could hear the engine. And
they would have killed someone else, at least. It would have destroyed the ship, or would have just killed anyone who was standing under it.
My ass would have been done. For the whole bridge. I mean, it was over the top of our bridge, right over the front of our ship. Jeez. And it landed about 45-degree angle, maybe, like I said, maybe like 150 yards. And it's boom. And then it's supposed to have a flotation device, emergency flotation device, but it landed right on that mechanism and broke it off. So it floated in the helicopter. I seen it go by. I'm like, holy shit. And then the tail blade, doom, 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 doom. This is at nighttime too. It's dark outside. And then we just saw the fan, the rear blade go under the water. It was patting like, and we're throwing over life rings just in case. And I had to be on a search and rescue team. So I'm sprinting jumping on a fucking small little rib boat about the size of my living room. And there's like 6 dudes. We're jumping on there. They're dropping us in the water. And I can't remember what they call it. There's a term for they take you down the arm and they'll sit you down nice and easy. It's an emergency. They cut it. They come on and say, boom, bang, you hit the like, woo, holy shit. And we're just taking off. We're looking for people and there's nobody, man. They're gone. That's the first time I tried coffee too. I didn't sleep for 3 days because we were out there searching grid for 3 days. I was a senior petty officer for my department and for my watch team. And then we got done after 3 days, man. It's like 9 o'clock at night, dog ass tired, man. We're all dead. And then like, all right, guys, we're not going to find them. It's done. The search party's over. We found a few pieces. That's the worst thing about it. I found a damn helmet, You're like, fuck.
That never goes away, man.
That's his helmet. You're like, shit. But 3 days, you're dragging ass, man. You are tired. And so I looked at all my people. I was like, all right, guys, it's 9, 10 o'clock at night. Someone's got to stand watch tonight. And then tomorrow morning, we got to start all over again. And I was like, I don't trust one of you idiots to stay awake. I was like, I'll bite the bullet. I trust me to stay awake. So you guys go ahead and hit the rack, get some quality sleep, get you some chow, wash your ass, brush your teeth, and call it a night. I was like, at a 0600, I wake your ass up. You better jump out that bed and come relieve my ass. Because when I go down to sleep, I'm staying asleep for a minute. Leave me alone. They're like, and the chief's like, Littlefield, you sure about that? It's like, Chief, do you trust them? He's like, it's not my call. I was like, exactly. I'll be in front of the old man if they fall asleep on watch or some shit or fall down and hurt themselves. They're falling out. I was like, I'll be all right, Chief. And he was like, all right, Littlefield, I'm gonna go to bed. And he just left. I was like, all right, Chief. All right, guys, hit the rack. We'll stay up. And on the bridge, you have this thing called the old shit bar, right? It goes across the entire bridge. It's about as thick as your thumb. A piece of iron rod that's mounted. So when the ship makes a big thing, you grab onto it so you don't fall down and slide across the fucking bridge, So I'm literally just hanging on to that thing and like standing there like, oh, trying to stay awake. So I was standing behind the helmsman talking to him to keep him awake. And then I was like leaning on the counter talking to him. And then I stopped talking for like 20 seconds or something. My knees buckled. I almost fell down, fell asleep, standing up, just like boom. And I hit my knees. I was like, oh shit. And the officer on watch, the navigator goes, Littlefield. Yes, sir. He goes, you falling asleep in my watch? No, sir. He goes, bullshit. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm tired. He goes, we're all tired. I'm like, I know, man. It's my bad. I leaned on this thing a little bit too long. I'm back over here in the old shit bar. I just grabbed the old shit bar and hold on to it 2 hands. And he's like, go get some coffee. I was like, I don't like coffee, sir. He goes, motherfucker, did I ask you if you like coffee? I was like, no, sir. He goes, get some fucking coffee. I was like, I don't drink coffee. He goes, I seen you drink that garbage ass alcohol. You can choke down some coffee. I'm like, yeah, you got a point. Pretty fucking disgusting. I still drink it because this means your ass. You're my petty officer on watch. Go get coffee now. He goes, here's $5. Go get some coffee for us. I'm like, all right. Get there and I take it. I'm like, I don't like this shit. He goes, put some creamer in there. Put some sugar in there. I'm like, all right. I was like, he's like, just let it get lukewarm. Throw an ice cube in there and then just chug it like a beer. I'm like, okay. I chug it and I'm just like, blech. Threw it away. 30 minutes later, dude, I'm staring at my hands. I'm like, do you guys see that? I'm like, well, I was like, is my hand shaking? They're like, no, like
caffeine and you had it all at once. Yeah.
Jitters. I felt like this. I'm looking at my hand. I'm like,
you know what, man? I don't have a story like you do, but
it felt like
I know what you mean.
It felt like my insides were vibrating to my hands. Like I felt like my hands were doing this and no one can see it. I'm like, my hands are shaking. No, they're not. I'm like,
it kind of sounds like a drug experience, but it is a drug.
It's a stimulant. Yeah. So I was way over high octane and then I couldn't shut up. Like I was talking to everybody. Hey man, remember that one time? Just like, and everybody's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, I'm trying to stay awake, man. I have all this energy. I feel good. So at 6 a.m., I'm waking these people up to get up, go get some chow, do some PT and get your ass up here. And the idea was they get their ass up here. I'll give them a turnover. All right, guys, I'm going to go hit the rack. I couldn't go to sleep for like 2 hours. I was wired. So I went and exercised in the weight room. Then I went to sleep. Then I went to sleep hard. I slept for like 14 hours that day. It was a. So that's the first time I tried coffee. Yeah. 4 people died and I tried coffee. You know, it's pretty fucked up.
It is.
But that's the only people that passed on my ship was those 4 people. For 4 years, you know, I count myself very fucking fortunate. And I ain't one of them. So, you know, I won't complain. I just feel bad for those 4 people that never got to see their loved ones again. They're in the bottom of the Atlantic with a fucking helicopter, you know, like strapped into their seats forever. That's fucked up. And then we had to have a burial at sea when we got back. That was gut wrenching, man. Just 4 empty things. And they just gave them ashes of some other shit that wasn't people. They gave them an urn and a burial at sea reef. Just threw the reef over the side. I'm like, what are we doing? You know, and I'm just like, what the hell are we doing? This is meaningless. It's pointless. But it meant something to them, but I just didn't get it, you know? And again, I'm 20. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, so it's just like, I don't know, man. The military was a blessing and a curse. It's the best mistake I ever made. I still made the best friends still. Shit. I got friends all over the country. I got friends all over the world, man, right now that are serving still that I served with.
Yeah, to me, that's why it's always so important, right? Like, just do everything we can as a country to take care of people that serve, because just it's not even like, okay, X% of losing life. It's the weight of everything that experience that, like, it's just a moral responsibility because we're asking other people to feel that heat so we don't have to.
Right.
I mean,
there should not be any homeless people in this country.
I don't want.
And there should definitely not be homeless veterans.
Yeah, I that's what I thought. You know, I agree with both of those, but especially
no, I say I default to humans.
I agree with both
first. And it's even more egregious when it's a veteran.
Yes.
That I call it writing that they wrote a blank check, man. We all write a blank check. We sign our life away for 4 years.
It's very basic we can do as a country. Well, this country history, very basic we can do.
And that's the thing. We don't get to decide what that check is, but we wrote it. We signed it. Life will figure out what that amount might be. You know, for some it's everything, and for others, the rest of us, we're lucky. You know, but we all wrote that check, and I respect anyone that signs that check, including the police officers, firefighters. They put themselves in harm's way.
That's a good point.
Paramedics, responders.
Thing I think above all else, I'll say for Joe Biden and his credit is that I think more than almost any other president, he gets that cost.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't know if he served, but as a father, and you know the way you see interact with people that lost someone, it's like he feels their pain. He's been there.
Yeah.
And you know when this guy is calling a family, because unfortunately it's always going to happen. There's going to be someone who's serving.
Yep.
He's going to mean it, and their story is going to stay with him.
Well, and he's going to feel it.
He's going to feel it.
He's a human, and I don't think our predecessor.
He skipped the calls with a few exceptions. No one else. No one else skipped those calls but him. That's one of the things that makes me the angriest.
To me, that's an impeachable offense. Russiagate, bullshit, whatever, waste of time, whatever. But not calling your that'll get me more upset. Than I won't sleep tonight if I think about that. I gotta leave that alone. That'll piss me off.
Well, that's why empathy for me is the single most important trait for president. You better have it, otherwise you're not even an option. Unless the other person's a sociopath too. I can't say you're just going to be someone who's going to get shit done. No, because when it comes down to it, there's going to be decisions where you have to choose between yourself and your country, and I need you to put your country first.
Well, it can't just be get shit done because Hitler got shit done.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad.
Charles Manson got shit done.
Yeah.
And Gandhi got
shit done for. That's at the end of the day, right? Like, what's their incentives?
Right. Gandhi got shit done. And he didn't kill anybody to do it. So that's how, getting shit done is one thing. A psychopath, a CEO can get shit done because some of them are fucking psychopaths. Legit, cynical psychopaths. They're what do you call that term? I'm trying to think of like egotistical, but
narcissists.
Narcissist. That's the word I was thinking. I couldn't think of that. Yeah. Narcissism is very common in, the elites, as far as they will excuse all your pain.
There are multiple routes to politicians succeeding, right? So I think you're going to have more of those people than normal. I think you also have more high empathy people than normal. And you got to go with the right ones because there's clues. There are some that hide it extremely well. Most you can tell because you get to the point in their career when they were given a gut check moment, their interest or their country. You don't have to be a sociopath to do something selfish, but I mean, like, there's some moments where like someone will sacrifice something for what's right. And it's like, that's my guy when I see that. That's the thing I care most about.
Yeah, man. We I always try to remind people we are a very young government on the world stage, and I feel like we're going through puberty.
These are the hormones.
And Donald Trump was like a zit.
Yeah.
And so now we have this pot mark. We have this surface scar that either we own it and wear it like a scar of growth, or you play the victim of and I don't like to use that term because that's a very fucked up term people use, you play the victim bullshit. But either you own your scar and you do whatever it takes to not hit it again. Like wash your fucking face or something. I don't know, to make a zit kind of a reference, but
you're deep in this metaphor. You guess you got to carry it out, right?
Yeah, it's a blemish. We have a blemish.
Yeah, I hear you.
And we're still in puberty, man. We still have a lot of testosterone in our government. I think we need to pump down the testosterone and have a little more empathy, like you were saying, a little more humanism. We need more Cory Bushes. We need more AOCs. We need more Cory Bookers and fucking anybody that's fucking gives a shit.
I've got some friends that worked for him. And everyone says he's just like, I think there's an assumption that he's fake, but everything I've heard is that is who Booker is all the time, and he comes on strong. So people think that, but he is like Mr. fucking empathy.
Yeah, I got the chance. I got lucky enough to meet him in person in Iowa at a disability forum. In Iowa, Andrew was there, and Cory went on before him, and actually videotaped an exchange they had between each other. Him and Cory really liked each other, and I'm
not surprised. Kudos, best human beings you ever see, I think.
Yeah, and then Cory Booker, kudos to him because his girlfriend was with him, Rosario Dawson. Holy sweet Moses, she is a gorgeous woman, and so she was walking by. I was like, "Hey, Cory, what's going on, brother?" He's like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" And then Rosario was like, "Miss Dawson," and she's like, "Hi." I was like, "Oh my God, you are gorgeous." Just I said it to myself. I wasn't gonna. I was like, I was live streaming like, oh my God, she is just so gorgeous. but before that, they were having a genuine conversation, and he's like, "Yang," and gives him a big hug, and Rosario, this is Andrew, and and you could tell he wanted to stay longer, but he couldn't. Like he kept trying to stay back there, and they're like, hey. Like Andrew's got to come in. Andrew's like, "Sorry, Cory, we'll see you around, Booker."
I bet he was good in that forum too, because I bet he cares about that stuff a lot. Disability rights, even if people don't talk about it, it just seems like something Booker.
I think Cory Booker's a genuinely nice guy. He's a good person. I think he's very empathetic. But again, the longer you're in office, the more dirt that's going to be there to be a decision you make. I was critical of some of his decisions with Big Pharma and stuff like that, but he's in New Jersey.
I'm going to give doing this to you, but I'm going to give him a little defense here.
That's fine. I love it. I love it.
Supported. I think this was good politics by some of his political opponents, including Bernie, to introduce the bill that he would vote against. And the guy used because Cory looked like a real threat in the primary early on. He ended up not being as much. But he supported a lot of other variations of that same import drugs from Canada bill that people didn't like. He had an issue with that specific one. Mm-hmm. There were so many bills that he sponsored and co-sponsored that pissed off the big pharma in his state. They donated big time to his first election. They did not donate the same level to his reelection. And there's a reason.
But that's the thing, though, man.
After he was senator,
I can admit that when I got passionate about Andrew, I got a little more tunnel vision about other candidates.
It happens to everyone. It's so hard. It's so hard not to.
And who's got the time to research every single person's every decision
in a 20-person field?
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I read most of their policies, but I just thought Corey's a decent dude, man. I was like, he's a good guy, man. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's just, I feel like, you got to go with your gut sometimes because you don't have time to do all the research. But I felt like, okay, from my gut, I felt like he's a decent human being that got in it for the right reasons and is doing the best he can with the decisions. I don't agree with all of them, just like I don't agree with everything Andrew Yang or anybody else does, or Obama or Bill Clinton. I voted for these fucking people. I don't, whatever. Even they don't agree with everything they fucking did.
If you agree with everything they've done, then you're just too biased to see the truth because
that's what I'm saying. Even Obama didn't like everything he did. Even Bush didn't like everything he did. Even Clinton didn't like everything he did. Like they all look back and say, I could have handled that better.
Yeah.
Or I wish I would have made this decision. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Obama regrets how Libya went down. Bill Clinton, sleepless over Rwanda. Like you're gonna have your fuck ups.
Yeah,
it's a hard job.
I would never. I don't want to be the governor of the state. I don't want to be the president of the country.
I'd take vice president or first gentleman or second gentleman, not president. I feel like
I don't want any job that takes
for me to have any of these roles. Don't get me wrong, but just in my head, I'd be like, okay, vice president, like one of the spiritual leaders, like not spiritual, I mean like religious, but like moral leader of the country. Advocate on certain issues where you're a champion on. Get to do all these public events, but like at the end of the day, well, if the president dies, you're fucked, right?
Yeah, then you gotta take some shit on. Yeah, no kidding. But to me, I don't want a job or a title or a role or fame that will take away my privacy.
Yeah, then that's not for you.
I'm a big one on privacy. So
your privacy's gone in a second.
But here's the irony. I think I'm full of shit too.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel. I talk about my life openly.
But it's your choice.
Right. That's what I mean, though. Like
that's the difference. You can choose to pull out.
I live at the end of a dirt road that dead ends into my driveway. Like no one comes down this road. Someone came down my road last week when it rained looking for fucking mushrooms. I say, hey, what are you doing out here? They're like, what? I was like, if you don't know me, you shouldn't be coming down this driveway. What are you doing here? Oh, we're just looking for mushrooms. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Let's make sure you guys weren't meth heads or something, So I live at the end of the wood. I'm in the woods, man. At the dead end dirt road, right by a lake, and meth heads exist, So, but yeah, so like I like my privacy. I like to disengage but then I come here to re-engage in a different format, which is kind of weird. It's ironic and it's just weird. I can't figure that out yet. Like,
it makes total sense to me. You're in the driver's seat. The media is not covering you. You're covering other things.
Oh, that's a good point.
Put forward. You can choose how much to put forward. They're not forcing you. If you're a candidate, they get to follow you everywhere, and that's the contract you signed up with when you run.
That's the thing. I'm thinking about running for state legislature, though.
Do it though. I think it's always good to get engaged. You have a good heart
in the midterms. So
it's not the same thing to run as a state legislator like it is for a rep or let alone senator.
No. I know our legislation. I know her.
What do you think of her?
She sucks.
Yeah, well, then you should run.
And I'm gonna challenge her. There's two. Okay, so there's state senate, which is not a good place to start as a first timer, right? But it's possible. And here's the thing. I'm not necessarily running to win. I'm running to introduce ideas. First, if I win, cool. If not, I want to at least challenge them and make them talk about topics I want to talk about. First and foremost, police reform. State of Michigan needs to lead. We need ranked choice voting. We have term limits in Michigan.
Yeah, you're about the ranked choice too. I've been seeing ranked choice.
I'm a big time proponent.
It's a great system.
I'm anti-duopoly. You can't have two wings in the same party.
And I even say that as a Democrat. And the Democratic Party, perfect fit for me and my values, but I just think other people should be represented too. And right now, if you vote independent, in most places in the country, you're throwing away your vote and you're helping elect someone you may or may not like.
Well, and that's the thing. You never waste a vote.
Exactly. That's why I like it. Let's people vote for what they feel is right.
Well, your number one is your vote with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you vote with your brain. Number three is your hope like hell. It doesn't go to number three, kind of thing. Excuse me. But yeah, so I'm thinking about running a state where you have the state senator who's coming up, and then you have a state House of Representatives, a representative there. But the thing is, we're redrawing the maps, and I'm on the edge of the boundary of the current ones. So I don't know what district I'd even be in. For state senate, it's obvious. Half the state. I'm definitely over there, right? But if I ran for state legislature or even like county clerk or there's an asshole they want me to run against. He's a very aggressive asshole, but no one's ever challenged him. And I am an asshole. When I choose to be, I can really be a dickhead, you know? And he's not going to intimidate me. He can't. I have no shame. I have no pride.
But that's not what's going to make you win. I'm just guessing based off what you told me. I don't know the details. Show strength. But if when you're running against someone, someone's biggest weakness, if your strengths line up well against that, you want to match that. Like Joe Biden, for example, out of his empathy against Donald Trump, right? You want to lead with your empathy because that's what separates you from him. If people want a jerk, they already have one, right?
Yeah.
Like go back down, but show why you're different.
Not to be a jerk, but to be the one that stands up to the bully.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like Andrew was. If Andrew could have debated Donald Trump, it would have been a fucking joke, honestly. Well, then again, it'd have been a disaster at the same time because debating Trump was like talking to a wall.
The best route of Trump is to let him drive himself into that wall.
Well, that's what I actually made a joke about that. I was like, if I was doing the debate prep for Joe Biden, Mr. Biden, what do you think about blah blah? Yeah, I like that. I yield my time.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden's best move in the debate was that he started laughing at Trump.
That's
something ridiculous.
Exactly.
And it grew Trump insane.
Just laugh and smirk and
he just couldn't handle it.
That's what I thought. I'm telling you, I watch those things live. I live stream the debates sometimes. I'm just like, he's laughing at him. I love it. That's perfect.
I know.
You're a joke.
He did it to Paul Ryan in his debate for your VP. And
Yep. Oh, Pablo.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, and plus when he smirks and smiles, it looks genuine.
It does.
He looks genuinely tickled.
And that's why
he's heard this shit 1,000. He's like,
because Trump is most afraid of being.
When he has that crooked grin.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, come on, man. Or would you just shut up, man?
He has like the pearly white golden smile. Like he always just like flashes. Like Joe flashes the smile better than anybody else. I've seen him like in that moment. It's like it is like a mile wide, and there's no way the opponent's going to see. I think it'd piss off anyone, but
yeah,
if they're laughing at you. But for Trump especially,
it was just funny. I was just wild. Like, oh, that's perfect, you know. That was perfect, and I enjoyed it. But man, those debates were painful.
That first debate especially was a nightmare.
The third one wasn't great either.
Yeah, well,
they skipped the second one because he wouldn't do it on Zoom because they could mute him. No one mutes the
so badly.
They skipped the second one because of
honestly, man, I feel like that was part of what the presidential election was. It was like America pressing the mute button on Trump. That was like that was like a third of Joe Biden's argument. Like,
well, people are still asking, do you think Trump's going to run in 2024? I do not.
Why not?
He'll be in court for the next decade on tax evasion.
I also think that he is older and deteriorating. It reminds me of LBJ, and I say this is someone that likes LBJ a lot, outside of Vietnam, obviously, but like domestic policy, I like him. Because of all the civil rights acts and things like that. You know, to me, it's the most important legislation America's ever passed. It's like Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act.
60s, man.
Yeah. So, we got to finally fulfill our ideals, right? But LBJ, I don't think he was like a hardcore narcissist, but he had narcissistic aspects, right? Like he needed the admiration. He was deeply paranoid, deeply insecure. That's part of why he ran. And for our politics, he used to get so sick before every election, even elections he won by 70%, that he would literally go to the hospital and have these like health issues because his stress levels were at the top. He didn't run for re-election. He dropped out of the primary because he lost one part of the primary. He would have won that primary and probably beat Nixon. Too afraid of losing and being rejected. Saw the knives out everywhere, right? So when he left and went from the constant attention of his staff and the country and everything else to the silence, he got depressed and wilted like a flower and went a little nuts. Doris Kearns Goodwin, historian who worked for him, like she wrote about a biography about him, like while interviewing him, and it was just so fucking sad. And I don't feel the same way about LBJ the way I do about Trump because I don't like him, but I think that Trump losing all this attention, the guy like LBJ, probably most since him, is addicted to the attention. I don't think he's doing so well. I think he's doing terribly right now. Everyone who sees him says all he talks about is losing and how angry he is and all these conspiracy theories. He's not talking about to raise money. He's just depressed and going
He
nuts.
was just at that CPAC thing, and they had an agenda speech, and he went off the rails, man. It was totally stolen. We won it by huge margins. Okay.
You noticed he was doing that all the election. I think being isolated of Corona was a nightmare for him and losing the attention. He was not sounding like he was very politically strong. Once he got out on the road and started talking to people, he got better, but he was losing it in those interviews.
Yeah. If he doesn't have your every moment's attention, he is suffering.
His Google searches, remember talking about Google searches?
Yes. Back to
lowest,
before he even ran for president.
2015. The lowest is 2015 right now, or July of 2015 is this month. Yep.
And
it's like half of the second lowest. So he's not getting attention anymore. Not like he used to.
I'm good with that. Well, hey man. Oh, hey, guess what? It's been 3 hours.
That was a good conversation. Yeah, we should probably wrap it up.
It's 12:15. Holy shit. Oh, okay. My record is 6.5 hours, just so you know.
Okay, we're not going to beat that today. I'm sorry.
Nope. I got to work and I got to get up in 6.5 hours. So I got to see patients in the morning. But yeah, man, super nice to meet you and get to talk to you, man. I love your work. I'm going to definitely check out your website. And then your next article, let me know, and I'll put it up on the Trickle Up as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I got to get back into writing more, so I will do that soon. And I'd be happy to talk another time aside from this. But when you run, let me know. I'm pretty good at messaging strategy and helping people run and just think through things, right? Like, so if you want to talk through some political strategy, like I'd say my big strength in that, hey, I love it, is helping people run campaigns that based off their values and like just figuring out a way to message like what you actually believe in. So you might have other people to do it too, but if you want to talk shop with me, more than happy.
Sure. Well, that's the thing I'm going to be up against is once they have the maps drawn, we're not going to know until December, and the primary is next June.
Yeah, because of
we got like 7 months. So what's that?
Prepare for the areas will be in your will most likely be in your
I don't know which one I'm on the border.
Yeah, you might have to prepare 2 strategies and just build up your track either way.
Right.
Efficient, but the other think about it this way, man. If you're up against someone that's been there forever and their district changes, you're at an advantage. You're going to be hungrier than they are, and they're still going to have to introduce themselves to new people. So that could help.
That's true. But my big thing is once I find the map, then I look at my demographics. Like what's the challenging economically, jobs, because that speaks to people. I
have good advice for you.
What's that?
Advice I've ever gotten in politics. I got this from the former lieutenant governor from Kentucky. He said what he used to be mayor of Louisville, and what he did every election is he would make sure he had friends that were like well representative of the district he was running in or the city or wherever, right? And he would go to all these different groups, like gather them together, like get people to bring their friends to. That was a cross section of the city, and ask them like what they thought the biggest challenges were in life. Write everything people said down, like what they thought solutions were, and then just keep comparing. Like what are the things people keep saying? And it was a way of like focus grouping without paying. Like get like this heart, and it's more than you'll get honestly in a poll because you're connecting with people. Right. Get the heart and the soul of the city and the issues people are struggling with, and the things that you agree with and believe will change it. Make that your campaign.
Well, that's going to be the hard part. Is this is all going to be abbreviated and shoved into a 6-month cycle, and 3 of those 6 months are the heart of winter.
Jesus,
we're not going to be knocking on fucking doors. And so
campaigning in COVID. That's
we hope.
Hope
we have a surge coming again, man.
Well, as long as we don't if we don't get fucked with the variants, we should be able to do good by then. I think
we got B117 in Michigan, man. I know that for sure. We got that.
Michigan, it's just terrible what's happening there. After
why? Canada, Indiana.
It's Canada too. I knew
Canada shut down the borders by Idaho. I have a friend in Idaho that said they shut down the border there because of their they have the highest infection rates ever of the B117 in Canada right now, north of Idaho, wherever the hell that province, Saskatchewan. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know shit about their geography. I know that winter is by Detroit. That's all I know.
But it's hard to. I'm terrible at geography. I really drill myself to get better at it, but
it's decent. That's about as far. I'm average. I'll just say I'm average. In America, that's not even a compliment, you know.
Yeah, have you seen those people like where they like, where is North Korea? And they're like
pointing at Japan.
Are pointing to like South America.
Serbia.
One person in that pointed to the U.S. They're like, "Oh, I think it's here." They pointed to like Florida.
I wonder if it's in this. I have a thing I used to do too when I get bored at night and I was trying to fight because I was working. I worked third shift at the casino or second shift at the casino, and it would get boring sometimes. Nope, it's not this one. It's a different one. I used to write down. I'd say, okay, let me think. Can I list all 50 states? Can I remember all their names? And I challenge them.
I did that too. I used Quizlet. I wanted to make sure I knew it where every state was.
Well, I would just do it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Can I just remember the names of all 50 states? Just start writing them down.
Yeah.
But like I would do that, and then I think about capitals. I was terrible at that, so I said that's not gonna work.
I gave up on capitals too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Because of the foreign policy thing, man, I had to know what the world was, so I just like tried to do these quizzes on all these countries. I can't get them all, but like I got South America down. But like I had to at least be decent because I would just look like an idiot in the future if I didn't.
Like I can do all 50 states. I can do South, Central America because I've been there.
Cool.
I can do most of the islands in the Caribbean because I've been there.
That's hard. That's impressive.
I'd say the ones that are identifiable. There's like 1,000, right?
The tiny chain here, right? That's the part where. Oh wait, I'm not even. You can't even see my hand. Like the one that's like, you
mean by like the Keys, or you're talking about like the Grand Bahamas and stuff?
Grand Bahamas and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Virgin Islands and whatnot. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Like I went down there. My very first port in the military was Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Wow.
Spoiled.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Fucking spoiled. It was awesome. And again, I'm 18 years old, never drank at a bar. And here's a funny story. I go to this Jamaican bar. It's on a resort. We pull up our ship. I pull up and they won't let you carry money. You go to the service desk and you buy shark teeth. It's called. It's plastic shark teeth that like hook up and link. And you make like necklaces and bracelets. That's your money, hanging around your neck. Oh, I have this. That's 2 shark teeth, man. Okay, 2 shark teeth. Okay, cool. It's like $1 per shark tooth or whatever it is,
So do they sell the shark tooth to someone else?
You can give it away.
No, like in the bar. Like, what do they do with the shark tooth?
That's how they get their money. So they collect. They have a big ass jar. And they had like a backboard. They just throw it, tang. They could be anywhere in that bar, and them motherfuckers could just chank it and just pop, pop, it bounce in there, man. Ching, ching. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. But here I am, 18, 19-year-old kid, and I go to the bar, and they're like, what can I do for you, man? I'm like, I looked at this whole menu, and I'm like, I looked at the top left corner, like, I guess I'll start with that one. I'll try a martini. Not a good idea. I'm like, bleh. Can I get a beer? Red Stripe. I'm like, sounds good. I tried a martini right out the gate, and it was horrible. I do not like.
Oh yeah, I used to hate that stuff when I started. When I was young.
Like shit. I like dark beer, but dry. Like I don't like wines and stuff like that because they're dry. I don't fuck with that. But yeah, like my first port was fucking Jamaica, man.
It's pretty cool.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, let me shut the fuck up, man. I gotta go to bed.
It's great talking to you, man.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, man. I'll be definitely trying to help promote and retweet and stuff like about your website and stuff. And you'll be definitely getting some blue hats following you here now.
Awesome. Thanks.
They might argue with you about your support of certain people,
Well, I always
touchy.
Anytime. Race to the White, race to the WH, race to the Whitehouse.com.
Right.
And follow me on Twitter too.
And the Twitter again, guys.
Love having
Logan _ Phillips. Race to the White. And I'll make a clip of this too later. Like what's tomorrow? Tuesday. Let me look at my schedule for tomorrow. Tomorrow I might be able to get this done. All this shit get done tomorrow, actually. So I don't have anything on my schedule. No live streams. Okay. So tomorrow I'll make a clip and then I'll put your links in the description box for that clip too. Awesome. And then I'll tag you on Twitter and all that bullshit, So
appreciate it. This is great.
Right, man. I appreciate your time, man. Take care. Stay out of trouble.
Do my best.
And thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Some of you guys stuck around fucking 3.5 hours, man. Outstanding.